Welcome to the Mortal Realms, an Age of Sigmar story phase. Grab your hammer so we can clear a path through the chaos and forge our own narratives in the Age of Sigmar. Your allies through the ties this episode are...
Hey, I'm Paul. Did you guys know that we celebrate the Ossiarchs every single time we have a football game at Camp Randall for UW-Madison?
We do?
You know that? Yeah.
I was unaware.
We do? Hey.
You've heard it before. Jump Around by Criss Cross.
All right, I'm in for it. I like it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we started with that, so then
I was going to say that. Okay, maybe I can clear that. Okay, all right.
No, that was good. I won't let you say that was bad.
I was like,
perfect.
everybody actually approved of that one this time.
It was great. Actually, yeah, Joe, you come on.
Right? I'm Joe. Did you guys hear that Catacross was spotted in St. Louis? Want to know what he was doing there?
What was he doing in St. Louis, that Catacross, Joe?
OC the Ark.
Well, yeah. And you said Paul's was?
Under.
So when you said you can clear it, do you mean that you picked a bigger
solid
thing to choose?
He could hula hoop right in.
That's right.
Physically larger entity?
Yep, I'm that commercial where the guy's going for the bud and he puts on the scuba diver gear and goes under the bar, right? That's me.
Joe, I did not watch Super Bowl 4. I did not catch the commercials from now on.
Actually, it was Super Bowl 2.
Mike? Come on.
Yeah.
That was a riff. That was purely riffing. Hey, what's up? It's me. It's Mike again. I was excited for this episode. I went out. I got my fake spray tan. I'm all oiled up. I got my tiny underwear on. I've been practicing my poses and my flexing. And now that I'm looking at your faces, I'm starting to think we're talking about a different kind of bodybuilder tonight.
Oh, God.
That was Beefcake Brutal. All right.
Hey, everybody, it's Will. And it's weird hearing everyone do all these different jokes because I've actually just been kind of like looking into the arts. And like, did you know like a lot of the Mortisans actually did different arts other than building skeletons?
Really? What other arts did they do?
Well, you've got the Mortisan John Femur who talked about ocean roads, reap my bones with a gash. We belong, Necrotopia, island on ya, ocean roads, reap my bones.
Beautiful.
Very nice. I love the warble. You did the warble so well.
It's coming to a stadium near you, perhaps right after Criss Cross Jump Around.
All right. In this episode, we're going to cover the lore of the Ossiarch Bonereapers Battletome. Get ready for a whole lot of bureaucracy, bone snapping, and the unholy fusion of disparate souls. And then, if we have time, we'll talk about those Ossiarchs. How are you tonight, my takers of the tides?
I'm bone tired.
Nice.
We're just going to start ramping them up.
I'm doing good.
I'm ready.
Yep.
I'm ready to talk. I've been a reading fool, checking out this Battletome, and I'm excited to dig into it with y'all. I don't have a bone pun. I'm going to try to play the rest of this one straight. We'll see how it goes.
That's going to last about 17 seconds. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah, we're boned.
Yeah, before you make a coccyx out of yourself.
And then, what have you all been doing in the hobby since we last talked? Just go down the list. Paul.
Well, I went down to go help with some Adepticon terrain earlier this month. So that was pretty fun. I've been working on that, getting that stuff done. And then just the old Harkiron stuff. And then I'm also getting a Nurgle army together of Blight Kings for the new Blighted Wilds, because it's super sweet and awesome. And making a Regiment of Garan and all the things, because it's just super cool.
Yeah.
So, having a good time.
Nice. Joe.
Well, I've been continuing to work on Sylvaneth. Pretty slow paced at the moment, though, because we are in our first iteration of the Blighted Wilds campaign, and I've been trying to get some stuff built for that. I built my own regiment of Garan for that,
Nice.
and so now I'm slowly starting to plug that away. We're hoping that that Sylvaneth goal of having them all painted by the end of the year is still going to be on task.
It's a monthly check-in, right?
Yeah.
We're a 12th of the way there, Joe. How is it looking?
Well, I'm going to say that obviously, my old math skills are better than yours because we're actually a little bit more than 1/12 of the way. There.
Oh, we're being pedantic tonight. This will be fun.
That's right. We're going to go the opposite way. We're going to pick on the young guy. Yeah. So yeah, monthly check-in. I'd say we'll call it on pace, but that's only because I have, almost.
That's only because I'm lying.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike, what about you?
I actually, similarly, I was doing a little Adepticon Prepticon just yesterday. I met up with Josh and Vint. We're prepping for our event coming soon. In Joe terms, 1.724 months away, pretty soon. So working on that. I also built, finally put together, just been in the spirit, decided to build out my Canaan's Reapers. Those guys are fun. They're awesome. I've been building some Warcry lists with them, and I was just like, I kind of want to have some of these guys. And then I have those guys now, and they're built, and now they go back in the box. Yeah, just trying to get everything together for that. I'm getting close to having finished painted all of my Lumineth actual models and allies that for my what's it called? The Yadrillan River Blades warband that I'd been putting together. So I'm getting close to being able to go and base all of those guys, which I'm pretty excited about because I got a lot of ideas. I got a lot of plans for those guys. So them guys gonna get a watery base, if you know what I mean. So.
Hey.
In particular, I liked your Ideneth Yadrillian kit bash. That was super sweet and awesome.
Yeah, I stole the wave off the icon models and then put the leader kind of looking like he's surfing on the top of it. It was a very delicate glue job, if you can believe it. And there's only one angle to take photos of it at because the rest of it is off balance because it is wibbly wobbly. So little peek behind the curtain that nobody wanted.
That reminds me of I did a spider conversion where the legs were out of putty instead of out of plastic.
Oh.
And so you would put it down and then the legs would just slowly move forward until it just like it was amazing.
What actually happened was Paul had covered a real spider in liquid green stuff.
Yeah. You want to talk about a conversion? That wasn't a conversion, my friend.
Right?
That was a cast.
Will, how about you?
So this past month has actually been a little bit slow on the hobby. Been doing a little bit of Adepticon prep, getting stuff ready for our narrative event. And then I did a test model for my Lumineth scheme because I think I finally landed on a scheme that I like. And then I'm going to start with the spearhead and then kind of grow from there. But back burner because I need to do everything for my Flesh Eater courts. And then kind of hobby related, but earlier this week I ran a little one-shot semi-horror RPG session with my D&D group. And I bring it up because I challenged myself where I listed basically a bunch of Age of Sigmar factions that I feel like could do the horror aspect, rolled randomly, and got Ossiarch Bonereapers.
Oh, nice.
So I got to introduce some people who only know fantasy through stuff like D&D to the vision of someone being pulled apart like fresh bread as they get harvested for bones.
I can see it in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
Also, outside my window, what is happening?
Are you doing it based around the Darkwater box?
Not really. It's a lot more freeform.
Because then that bread would be monkey bread that you're pulling apart.
All right. You know what? Mute him. Zip it. Cut him off.
Out of here.
I wish it was like that old ESPN show. You just get timed out for 30 seconds when the host is around the horn. That's what it was.
It's funny. We always go with the puns, and every episode I'd like to do an over under. At which point that Davey goes, all right, I'm out of here. I'm not listening anymore.
Davey can't listen anymore. He knows. He goes, why would I rage bait myself listening to this awful show? Also, we hope you're listening, Davey, and it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. Speaking of, you, person listening, can find more episodes of this podcast and all of our other shows at themortalrealms.com, including the ones Davey's on. You can email us your feedback at mortalrealms@gmail.com. You can find our Patreon at patreon.com/themortalrealms to support the show, get early releases of the story phase, and access exclusive content like the Pocket Realms, which are short story phases hosted by Davey and Aaron. And if you can or don't want to pitch in monetarily, then head on over to your podcast service of choice and give us a review, or just go ahead and tell a friend about the Mortal Realms. As always, thank you, Games Workshop, for a review copy of the book. And Paul, can you take us to the story phase?
The story phase. In the story phase, we delve into the stories, characters, creatures, and environments of the 9 realms.
You know, I thought I'd be excited, but no, the second one, I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, it kind of goes away after the
the magic's been tingling. Where is it gone?
Once you realize that he's just had it recorded and just plays it.
He lip syncs it well, though. He does a good job of making it look like he's saying it again.
Years
it
of
doesn't make for
experience,
great radio. But it's always fun to see Paul get ready for it, and he sits up really nice, straight and tall, and gets ready for it.
Hundo P, you gotta be oriented correctly.
That's right.
You gotta stretch out those rib cages.
Get the diaphragm just right.
Yeah.
Get it resonant.
Uh-huh.
All right, yeah. So here we are, Ossiarch Bonereapers time.
Woo!
Who are these Bone Reapers? Literally, like, what are they? Everybody, it's our favorite segment.
Oh, I always forget. Literally every time I say that, but it's the truth.
One sentence.
That one doesn't get old. I enjoy watching you struggle and the genuine pain wash over your face.
Oh, man.
I won't make Paul go first. If anyone,
No, you can make me go first. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, fine.
I get to
Paul,
go first on the
go
pun.
first.
All right. So, calcium miners who collaborate infinitely through partial soul merging into grotesque creations of nightmare vision.
Very nice.
Right. That's pretty good for out of nowhere. I'll give you a pretty good score for thinking of that from nothing.
Joe,
do you want to go next? I know you get mad when people steal your bits.
You always go in the middle, because then it's the bar's really low in the middle,
especially if you're going after Paul.
Nope, so then
every time.
You guys have to bring it home. Let's go with fleshless phalanxes of the Father of Bones, who flens the flesh of their victims.
Really?
Foes.
There's a silent
it was there.
It was right there.
It was there. Foes. Oh. So close.
That's okay. It was still pretty good.
Okay, pretty good.
Yeah, you couldn't quite stick the landing. A little wobble at the end, but still pretty. You got full rotation, and the flips were good.
I give you 4.1 out of 5.
Yeah.
Mike, how about you?
You know, I enjoy this part, so I don't forget, and I don't care. I'm going to prepare it because I enjoy doing it. So if you ever want to put me at the front, feel free to. Except as soon as you do it, that's when I'm going to forget. But I had a little piece prepared. Where are they? Locked in. There it is. Okay.
Prepared. I don't have it in front of me. Why would I have it in front of me?
It's here, but it's not here.
Prepare to spend a bunch of dollars.
The calm, calculating, calendarifically driven calamitous calcifications of calcani or calcars, occasionally corralling callous recalcitrants. That's all.
Did that make sense in any other language?
Some of those blended
It didn't
together.
make sense
to
in
me.
English.
I'll say it slower because I was running out of breath. The calm, calculating, calendarifically driven calamitous calcifications of calcani or calcars, occasionally corralling callous recalcitrants.
All right. Why are they calendarly? What does the calendarly have to do with it?
Because
with respect to a calendar.
Yeah, I know, but like,
It's
I don't
time, baby.
oh, okay, got it. Got it.
That's gonna come up later.
So you're basically just they're suggesting they're infernal accountants that just tithe that choice.
No, you said that. I said calendrifically.
All right.
You got a voice, Will? I hope there's a voice.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I have to find it again.
Is it in some other file right now?
Yeah, let me just.
It's on my computer.
I'm downloading it off Mike's computer. We are Nagash's perfect vision of the Necrotopia, because we are the best parts of you without the worthless meats and bits and bobs. The Skeletor.
Does anybody else feel like they're watching Princess Bride right now? That was a perfect rendition.
Really? Because I got like Wizard of Oz vibes.
I mean, shoot.
Yeah, that's gonna be edited.
Yeah.
Will, what were you going for? Who got it right? Who's your favorite?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I agree. I think it was pretty close to Skeletor. I just think that these punks aren't, appreciating real culture. All right,
fair. I'm gonna start paying dollars for the references I don't get at first.
Yeah,
I'll throw those on.
Joe, this is your time to shine.
I know, right?
If we wanted to do new Skeletor, I'd try doing my Jared Leto voice, but I didn't like it.
Was Skeletor the first Ossiarch Bonereaper is the real question I think we got to ask here?
I think so. I think he falls under like Arcane the Black rules. Like he wasn't made as an Ossiarch, but then he kind of is representative of them after the fact.
Does that make He-Man Sigmar?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Good talk.
I'll get you next time, Sigmar.
That does sound like Catacross. Not gonna lie. You killed me, but not this me. You have to kill this me now. I am undefeated in this body.
Again, Davey, we're really sorry that you have to do that. The rest of the listeners, you chose to be here. You deal with it, but
it's in his contract. He has
just think when he had to be on the same recording, you just see him like give up the will to live every 17 seconds.
When the mustache starts to sag, you know that you've broken here. All right, Will,
we have to move on. So that's a general idea of who these Ossiarch Bonereapers are. They are skeleton people, formed, shaped by bone, but they've got some history to them, which is always interesting because we never saw them until 2nd edition of Age of Sigmar, but they do actually have some history from the Age of Myth and Age of Chaos. I know we don't have any like stories in this Battletome, quote unquote, from that time, but does anyone have remembrance of what happened before the Age of Sigmar with the Ossiarchs?
I know bones are old.
Bones are old.
So I was just gonna take the cop-out answer and go probably some bones from then are relevant now, but
technically, yeah.
So if we're gonna go like back to when they were introduced, because this is a new faction for Age of Sigmar, which does make them a little unique in the Age of Sigmar universe because so many factions were kind of holdovers from the old world or reinventions. The cool thing about them is they're not Tomb Kings, which is later, but they are kind of the Age of Sigmar reinvention of the idea of what Tomb Kings kind of were. So that's pulling out of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. But when they came out in second edition, they were definitely almost like an in-joke of like, haha, we're not Tomb Kings.
Are
This is a
they're
fun.
like LaCroix Tomb Kings.
Yeah.
They're like seltzer water Tomb Kings.
Yeah.
Kirkland brand
It's
mass
It's not
produced.
Perrier, it's LaCroix, all right? It's different. It's from a different place.
It's Memories of Tomb King is the flavor that they made them
Yeah.
with.
But the cool thing is that they had a pretty cool story about why they were here and nobody had ever heard about them. And the idea was that Sigmar, during the ancient past, had actually dealt with Catacross and had killed him and locked him in a storm vault. So if you remember hearing about storm vaults, like this is the main story thread for the general Mortal Realms plotline that came through from the storm vaults, which I thought was super cool. There's this whole thing where Lady Olander went to Lethis and had this whole attack, and then the celestial hurricanum is the word I'm looking for. Joe, who's the character that I'm thinking of?
Celestin Prime.
The Celestin Prime actually faced off against Lady Olander and did not manage to completely destroy her, and the storm vault was unlocked and Catacross was unleashed, right? So in order for him to be in that storm vault, he has to have this whole story behind. And the story of Catacross is really the story of the Ossiarch Bonereapers. So Catacross comes from Shyish, from the land of the dead, and he was a living person who was living in Shyish. And when Nagash started going and conquering all these underworlds, because he was the Lord of the Undead, not the Lord of the Dead, he had to conquer Shyish to get that title. Catacross was somebody that actually was able to stop him for quite a while. And in the end, he ended up making a deal with Nagash saying, hey, dude, I know I'm not going to be able to defeat you infinitely. Let's make a deal. And Nagash basically made him into this Mortarch. So, Will, I feel like you have opinions.
95%, right? The one thing is when he did start challenging Nagash, he was dead. It's almost the opposite of what happened with Alexander, is that, when Catacross died because he was flung off a chariot, that's why he hates them and will never see them again.
Was that when he was fighting a Gorgon?
Yeah, it's just a fearsome creature of chaos slain by a beast, but you don't see those two words in the same sentence.
So that's the answer, right? All the beastmen are gone. He can be okay with chariots now.
He's cool with it, yeah.
Moving on.
But so the reason I say it's the opposite of Alexander is because he was this great military strategist, died, is born in the underworlds and cries because there are way more worlds to conquer. And he, as a dead person, starts doing all this stuff against Nagash.
Sweet. Thank you, Will. I totally appreciate that. So then, as he becomes a Mortarch, he ends up leading all these armies and having all these victories, and Sigmar himself has to come and deal with him, defeats him, puts him in a storm vault. So all of the Ossiarchs are actually the legions that Nagash crafted for him. So it is this completely new, separate idea that was not present in anything before that is unique to the Age of Sigmar. So
when he got elected in the Storm Vault too, Nagash didn't know about it at first, right?
Didn't know where he was located.
Up, and he was just like,
had no idea.
Crazy. My number one best guy just bailed. He would never heartbroken Nagash.
Yeah.
If I still had a heart, it would totally be broken. But the Skaven stole that too.
Right. Well, guess I'll punish some infidels.
It was interesting to me that the Ossiarchs were actually built underneath all of these cities of Sigmar, and Sigmar had no idea that they were there. So they were built in secret over the course of time, and nobody had any idea that they were there.
I'm just imagining Age of Myth. Sigmar is like starting his new civilizations, and he looks over. He's like, Nagash, what are all those skeletons doing carrying bones down beneath the city? Like, oh, bone stuff. Don't worry about it. He's like,
this city's modeled after Paris. We're starting with the catacombs.
Yeah.
So, full disclosure, this is a really cool riff, in my opinion, on a cool little footnote of Victorian culture that they had this like obsession with bones, and they had this obsession with death, and they had like there was a rail line that came out of London that you just took to bury people. And so like there were all of this obsession with bones and burial and all this kind of stuff. At the same time, when they were digging down for the subways and they were digging down for the sewers because they realized that stagnant water is going to kill you, right? They started to discover all of these things underneath the cities, and all the ancient cities. We have this in Paris and Athens, right? I'm sure they have these in China too. I just don't know that much about it as much. So they discovered all these catacombs and all these older tunnels and all this kind of stuff. And so it really taps into that actual moment of history in the real world, that fascination of bones and skeletons and death, and the fascination with the spiritual realm. And so I think this is a really cool way to bring that into Age of Sigmar and make this into a really cool thing. And one of the things that's really pivotal about Ossiarchs is that they have this little gem that's in each Ossiarch that has the essence. But the cool thing, and the thing that makes it really Mortal Realmsy, is that it's not, as you've kind of mentioned before, a soul that's put back into a body. Like that was a number one thing that I loved about Tomb Kings, is it was the soul of the person who died was reinfused back into the skeleton. And so they were immortal, but dead.
Yeah.
And so when in the end times, Luther Harkon came and took all these newly raised skeletons that had no soul attached to them and started killing the Tomb Kings, everybody's like, oh, that's so boring. And I was like, oh my goodness, it is these millennial old warriors that are being torn from their bodies, and then their bodies are being stolen as their souls are drifting away to go and fight against their brethren that they've known for millennia. Like, to me, that was just like such a wonderful
boring. No,
it's such a wonderful, like, tragic moment.
Yeah,
and
really cool.
And how in the Mortal Realms they've taken that even further, where they're just parsing the bits of your soul that they think are useful, almost like a clay. You know, somebody who uses clay to make bowls and stuff, uses the things that are good but throws away the rest of it to make these super soldiers, essentially, right? These undead super soldiers that have the best of everything. It's a really cool Age of Sigmar way of making a like gene modified super soldier, but out of bone with the soul. So I thought it was a really, really cool idea that I haven't seen anywhere else before. So I love it.
Will, I don't know if you noted this allegory as well, but that replacement of a single soul, you know, just being the consistent thing, but the chassis being able to be changed. Will and I send these memes to each other a lot, but it didn't remind you of any ships of Theseus or anything like that. It's, hey, we can change as many parts as we need, but still the same guy deep down.
Yeah.
Or is it? Whoa.
It's still Catacross. He's still gonna, no matter what body he goes into, he's still gonna have a weird scar from Archaon.
Yep. Poor guy. Poor fella.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a great breakdown, Paul, of where they came from in the Age of Myth, their purpose and everything, and kind of catches us up to
here we are.
You just did it. That was everything pre like the official like stories that they put into the book, because it's classic Nagash, right? He has this plan of like, I'm gonna build the Necrotopia and I'm gonna put all these guys underneath the town. Oh, it's foiled. I'll come back to it in 400-500 years. Just put an egg timer on that and see what happens.
I'll come back to it at the exact time that the length of the Age of Chaos is.
Yeah.
Right here.
But yeah, Catacross does come back out. Olinder does free him, and Nagash does awaken the Bonereapers in the Age of Sigmar. Are there any stories in the Age of Sigmar that kind of stand out to folks?
Yeah, for me, it was the Lady Olinder actually attacking Lethis, and I think the reason I like it so much is, if I recall correctly, this is the only time that the Celestant Prime has actually been taken down, was by Lady Olinder. I can't recall another time in lore that the Celestant Prime was actually taken down.
I'll defer to you on that one, Joe. I know you're a big Stormcast head, so if you say it's true, I believe it, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
To me, it's just such a pivotal moment in the Age of Sigmar, because for I'm thinking all along that the Celestin Prime is just it's Sigmar's avatar on Earth. So what actually has the ability to be able to take the Celestin Prime down? And then you see this combat between Lady Olinder, who is newly raised as the Mortarch of Grief at that point, and is able to actually not destroy, but send the Celestin Prime back to Zir, who I had thought all along was nigh impossible to actually take down. So for me, that was I just really liked that story, because it really made it so that the Celestin Prime wasn't as powerful as I had believed all along that he was fallible, or they were fallible, I should say.
So I really like this from a lore point of view, right? It's something that I don't know if we specifically covered, but the Celestin Prime is above all presented in the lore, especially for Stormcast, is like symbol of divine hope, right? When everything is lost, when the Celestin Prime shows up, he shows up for you, to the point where when they show up in the colors and the plate of the storm host that they are coming to rescue, right?
Yes.
It is this like essentially a Superman trope of like, I'm going to come here, I'm going to come save the day, right? And as you mentioned, Joe, right, who is this person defeated by but the Mortarch of Grief, right? What is the foil of hope? And it is this grief, right? And we haven't necessarily seen the Celestin Prime show up again. But as we progress through the Stormcast storyline, we have seen this grief take over that storyline. So we've seen it in the larger lore as well, where the Stormcast have started to lose so much of themselves that they formed an entire chamber to figure out how to deal with the grief of the loss of themselves.
Right.
So not only in that small lore thing is it cool, but in the larger lore, they've really played that out and spun it out really well into this larger narrative arc that has determined where 4th edition is coming from. So that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I hadn't made that connection. Now I'm stuck thinking about it.
Oh, there was some profundity in that big old fight that I enjoyed, and there was some nuance. While the ghost killed the metal man, that was, I suppose, in Freedom Skeleton Lord. Yeah, I guess they did think about it a little more than that.
It really was grief.
Not me, but yeah.
Well, another thing, right, that they haven't really talked about yet. What does the Celestin Prime wield?
The Warhammer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we've lost Gal Moraz a second time.
I do know he does he does show up. He doesn't show up as a main character, but
yeah.
But it is the fall of the hammer for a little while.
It is the fall of the hammer, right? Like, so yeah. Hammer to fall. Sorry.
we can't leave blank spaces because Paul's gonna fill them. Tasty 80s riffs and just.
Come on! That's a wonderful song from Queen. Come on.
Oh, I didn't actually hear it. You're a little blurred, and it wasn't coming through clear.
It's because I'm old. All right, just say it like I'm old.
That's not it. My ears just tune out any Freddie Mercury murdering of songs.
No, I thought you were going to say Freddie Mercury in general.
No, he's fine.
I'm going to judge you if you say that. Right.
Man, do you think
maybe he's an Ossiarch Bonereaper?
I was gonna, it's making me think what happens when they find the Freddie Mercury body. Does it make the soul into a beautiful singer? Because I'm thinking of like a rock band, of Ossiarchs, and I'm here for it.
The Petrifex Elite, but an Ossiarch band. Right? Yeah. Freddie Mercury is the singer.
Freddie Calcium. There.
Any other stories you all wanted to hop on?
Yeah, the Temple of the Bleak Raven. I think just for that one. It was the reference to Morta actually in there. We don't we don't get to a lot of reference to Morta in stories, and we get just this one piece in this story where they go into the temple and basically destroy everybody that's there. But then there's this last passage of the story where the the Liege Cavalos that's actually in charge of this has this moment where he sees similarities between them and the Reclusians. And there was it was basically the last line of this story, but there's just this whole underlying story that I could see them taking and just really expounding on, because for a long time now we've had this recurring theme of the Stormcast losing themselves and sending out Sacrosanct to try and figure out, okay, how do we fix this? And then our good buddy the priest, whose job it is to actually try and find the cure. He's the one with the
it's gone. I can't think of it. Yep.
He rides the dragon.
Yep.
Yes.
There you
go. Ion is Scriptborn. So we had
remember the dragon.
Right.
Thorax rider. Who's that guy?
So we had this whole story of them trying to figure out how to solve this problem. But as I'm reading through this story, I'm thinking, well, has Ossiarch already solved the part of this problem for them? And is there a piece there that they could use to try and solve, that Stormcast could actually use to try and solve their own problem?
Good. I want to dive into that, but first I'm just going to bring up that this does tie into a listener question.
Whoa!
Great job, Joe.
Hey, well done, Pete.
Questions? Please hang out in the Discord always. I'm going to ask randomly, like 2 weeks before we record, if anyone has any questions.
Every day.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. That's key.
If you miss it, the conversation is going to move on to something else. Like
sorry, where is that again?
Each month.
25 hours a week is one day out of the week. Come on,
day. A single day of the that day though. 25 hours a day, 8 days.
Oh, okay, all right. Then I'm aboard. Sounds good.
I assumed that you knew what I was. That's okay. It's safe. Yeah. All right. What was that question, Will?
So Fredericks asked, Stormcast and Deathcast new arch frenemies. Kind of relating to the new Reclusian chamber, the Ruination chamber. Sorry, that includes the
right.
Them, and yeah, I kind of think so. And to the point of like, could the Stormcast learn something from the Ossiarchs? Tough to say, because the Ossiarchs' answer to maintaining the identity is to shave off parts of the soul and just glue them together.
Right.
So there is the potential of Stormcast, Sigmar learning a lesson from that, and it's gonna it get weird.
But Will, I feel like
Stormcast together.
When you make an Ossiarch, you shave off part of their personality in order to make them better.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of people together.
Interesting. On purpose.
On purpose
is the thing.
Well,
what Sigmar does on accident, Nagash does on purpose.
On purpose, right?
So here's the question, right? My honest question. I don't think we've ever had a good answer to this. Where does the extra soul stuff go?
It's like an Office Space. There's a program and it just shaves that little bit and it goes into a single account and they get the decimals wrong and they're stealing whole souls and then they have to kill a printer. I remember the movie. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes.
That's how it went. I think it doesn't explicitly say, but I think that's where we kind of get the Mornial cast of the Ossiarch Bonereapers. Their symbol is the foot because they're literally the lowest part of the body. And we actually now have more models of the Mornial cast. I listed all the models and which cast they are in just for myself.
I'm glad that you were. I saw that in the notes, Will, and I was like, "Uh-oh, I did not go into this much detail in my preparation."
No, but just because I needed to know, like, okay, do we actually have examples of this? And it's the Gnosis Scroll Bearer from Catacros's thing is one, and then the new casket carriers and Thanatek's Tithe, I think is the name of the new Warhammer Underworlds band. And it's like, yeah, you don't really need the best parts of a soul if your whole purpose in life is that they glue a treasure chest to you.
I do
walk around.
I do love the comparison to like other factions and how they feel about souls. And I didn't see them just throwing souls away like this. They go, we don't even need these parts. And you've got the completely soulless individuals. They're like, there's a guy with a box for a head who has more soul than I do. I'm meaningless, but he's less so. Gotta be, right? I did one thing just back to that story real quick too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to come back.
Yeah, I really like, so I kind of getting ready for this one. I went and listened to like the last episode that we did on it. We collectively, meaning obviously the four of us. No, but the last story phase episode, I listened to a couple.
We were all there.
Yeah. I think Paul was. No, Paul definitely was. A lot of the stories and like just when Ossiarch was new, it seemed like there was a lot more of that direct kind of comparison between Sigmar, and it seemed like people were expecting it to be a lot more of a kind of direct opposition to Sigmar with the way that they're made and stuff like that. And obviously that these guys have not been quite at the forefront of the story for quite some time. But it is cool to see that, within this story. I also really liked it. Just one, again, like Joe said, that mortar reference, I was so stoked about. I was like, oh, there it is. But just because we are getting to see that, this almost like, reverse mirror of what they are and just all of the similarities with those differences. And just cool to see what, I don't know, how long has it been, 7-8 years since they came out, that finally people can have that answer to like, are they the opposites? Yeah, kinda. It's the slow answer that you had to wait for. But
I also love, because Joe, you called out that last line of like, Zermatt is pondering the similarities between his forces and the Stormcast, which just highlights how messed up the Ruination Chamber is.
Right.
When these deathless skeletons look at each other and go, those guys are kind of messed up, aren't they?
Boy, I'd hate to be those guys. Yeah.
Boy, that sucks. They're kind of robotic. Anyway,
the guy with the box head is fucking mad trash about him. His bones in his box head are rattling around. Look at those idiots.
I'm glad we won, but I felt bad for them the whole time.
Oh, well, bring the bones.
And then one story I wanted to talk about is the Furnace of War.
No! All right. Get in there. Dig in.
Gotta take it. We can all talk. We can all share.
Let's alternate words. You start, and I'll say the second word you say.
So
then,
I didn't realize we were role playing Ossiarchs here.
Furnace of War. We've got Crematoria, who have been fighting Tsar Vixa. This is, if I remember, it's the Pyrogate.
Yes, it is Pyrogate.
Wait, did we settle if it was like Jar or Czar or Rar? Did we settle that in the last episode?
It wasn't the last. It wasn't the last one for sure.
No. All right, sounds good.
No, we did. We talked about it in the Nurgle episode. We got in. Remember that 45 minutes, that tight 45 minutes we did on the Hellsmiths of Hashut pronunciation guy?
Yeah. So they're fighting the Hellsmiths of Hashut, which is always fun.
And this was the first like bad guy Hellsmith, or just like non-Hellsmith Battletome Hellsmith story we got, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because they didn't talk about them with the.
I think Nurgle had any. They were too busy talking about the water they needed and what they were doing to it.
Yep. But this also isn't the first time we've heard about this battle outside of a Hellsmith Battletome, because this is actually a follow-up to their previous Ossiarch Battletome, where it was talking about them fighting these like humans armed with weird fire-based chaotic weaponry coming out near Tsar Vixa, and it was kind of like one of the teases we had that the Hellsmiths were coming, and then we see the escalation of that battle and the Hellsmith Battletome, and now we're seeing how the Crematorians are dealing with it, which is they're just trying to survive. They're literally like taking their sorcerers and like hiding them everywhere, just to keep them safe from being destroyed. Yeah, and the funny thing is that they basically hid like this super important scroll,
Mm-hmm.
so the Hellsmiths couldn't find it, and the Hellsmiths don't even know that it's been hidden. So they're still like laying siege to the Pyre Gate, and the Ossiarchs like, "Oh no, stop! No, wait! Oh, that's crazy!" As they're like getting everything out the back door.
But didn't they got one important scroll, didn't they? The fact that a crucial scroll was removed by the Legion. Oh, never mind. Nope, never mind.
Yeah,
I mixed it
yeah.
around. I flipped it the other way. I was thinking that while they were getting jumped on the. Never mind. Disregard.
Yeah.
So you're
I'm
reading the
reading
scroll from
upside
the
down.
bottom
Yep,
instead of
I
reading the
was-
scroll from the top. You
Exactly.
got to work
Yeah.
on your scroll technique here.
Uh-huh. Yep.
It's just funny because in the Hellsmith Battletome, it specifically says like they're attacking them to get the secret scroll, and they're almost there. And Ossiarchs, like, they're not even close. That thing is gone.
So I wasn't part of the previous when the previous review of the Ossiarch Battletome was done. Was there a reference in there to the Urkrematorians actually looking for a cure to their condition? Because this is the first that I recall there actually being a mention of they're trying to actually solve their condition.
I thought there was again not from books that I've read, but from people I've listened to from books they've read. I think from the first one, and again, I would shout out Doug over at 2+ Stuff. I listened to some of his stuff. Obviously, another great lore spot. But yeah, listening to like the Mortal Realms one too. The pieces that I recall were that was kind of like one of the more interesting parts of those guys, because they're using their free will that like most of the other death factions don't have to be able to look for, we're definitely doing what we're supposed to be doing, and also don't worry why my computer was off for 5 minutes when we were searching around there for a little while. It wasn't for anything else. I wasn't interviewing with anybody or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that is a consistent through line that these guys have had, where they've been trying to hunt it. There's a named character, isn't there, from within them, a pretty decent one, or am I misremembering that?
So it's just like the name of the leader.
Okay.
His name was Oratan Ferric, and he's kind of leading the defense of the area. And we kind of do get a nice little breakdown of some of the sub commanders of the Ossiarchs, for lack of a better word. And let me go back to where he was, because this is in like the fold out where the map is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually get a lot about like Urkrematoria, and I immediately forget it's the Pyre
Gate Mountains.
Pyre Gate Mountains.
Yep.
Their fort.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, one, they're dealing with the Hellsmiths, but they're also dealing with the Skaven, and so they're essentially doing like controlled burns and like burn pits for the Skaven to fall into. And to them, like most of the other Ossiarchs during the Hour of Ruin, like are trying not to use Skaven bones. They're brittle, they're small, they're corrupted with the warp stone. They're not going to last
they
very
get stuck
long.
in your teeth. They're
Yes. And the crematorians are like, we're going to burn through their bones faster with our curse anyways. Bring them in.
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't want them, we'll take it. Like, we need as much as we can get.
I guess the reason I asked this question is that I didn't realize that they were actually searching for, and again it brought a similarity to the Stormcast storyline, where they're both searching for a way to solve basically something that's that they're both dealing with. Obviously different scenarios, but the storyline was very similar, and I hadn't realized that was actually a thing.
More similarities is
Right.
always good to call out between them and the Stormcast.
So
which this entire time, I guess I've been thinking that really Stormcast, and that's because of where we started in the Age of Sigmar, that the Khorne and Stormcast were basically the two that hated each other the most, right? They fought each other the most. But when you start to look at the different factions, the one that actually has a lot of similarities to Stormcast is OBR, because they are so drilled and strategic, and that is exactly what Stormcast are. They spend so much time in the Sigmar Bellum, actually
Sigmarabulum.
Sigmar album. There you go. Actually drilling and making sure that they don't make mistakes and they're able to maneuver so well. Well, that's exactly what OBR is as well. So there's just so many similarities between the two factions that finding these individual stories where they're talking about the Ur-Crematorians trying to solve their dilemma, solve their problem. Well, that's very similar to the Stormcast storyline as well. And I just really liked that how they really took the part of this and developed stories that made me go back and go, okay, there are so many similarities between those two.
For myself, I noticed there is almost like crossing paths and we go in opposite directions from each other, in the sense that Stormcast, when they started, each Stormcast has these personalities, they have their memories, they are people with full-fledged lives and backgrounds. And as they're reforged and as they die and as the army expands, that gets lost, that gets shaved away. The Ossiarchs, when the army comes out, we're led to believe are just the best parts of souls fused together into this gestalt entities. They're robots made of bone, soulless, emotionless. But now as we've been with them longer and has like the history has grown and they're expanding and they're dealing with their curses, I'm seeing a lot more personality of these guys in this
Yeah.
battle tome than when they initially came out.
Yeah,
So
that's a
it's
really good point.
funny seeing them go the opposite direction of like, okay, now we've got Ossiarchs who have weird quirks and weird personalities, and they have their own quests for finding cures and doing all these things that when they were introduced, it was kind of like monotonous in a way.
Yeah, almost automatons. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
With that, Will, too, one of the things that it wasn't so much a story as just kind of like an overview, but talking about like the OBR during like the era of the Beast, technically / the era of the Dawnbringer Crusades.
Yeah,
I don't know, one of those
Mhm.
two.
Yeah.
It's in there.
But it just talked about like while they were dealing with all of the destruction factions kind of running rampant and smashing their bones to bits, they had to, particularly in Gur, they had to start using Gur bits, and with that, the way that like the realm kind of leeches into them, they just kind of are developing a little more savagery, things like that, getting a little bit of that Gur infusion, which was cool to just hear him explore that concept of the realms forming the the inhabitants, and especially when you've got people that are physically using it, not just present, like they're reusing the pieces that are there and explicitly trying to gain more of the local fauna in that sense. So but there was another piece in there. I mean, they alluded to with like, I don't know if do we count it as a whole separate part of like the history now, like the Hour of Ruin? Are we considering stories from that its own?
So
Yeah.
we did in like past editions because that's
Okay.
how the books were overlaid.
Mhm.
I think we can just say the modern times. We can talk about
Right.
that history now.
Professional
Since-
now.
Can I do a quick mention about the slaughter at the Daxmatic?
Yes,
Hit
please
it.
do
Right.
before we hit to the modern era.
So one quick story that I want to cover is the slaughter at the Daxmatic. It talks about the lands of Halost, and it's Catacross versus the Anvils of Heldenhammer. So the little bit that we have here talks about this battle, etc. Things happen, people die. It's great. It's a cool little story. The thing I love about it, though, is that it's actually the little tiny little summary of a massive campaign that was in White Dwarf.
Huh.
And Joe,
Yeah.
when you were talking about the Bone Reapers versus the Stormcast, like this was a really cool narrative that really described how they interacted with societies in the realm of Hish, or sorry, in the realm of Shyish. And it's really fun because the members of Halost is the land of heroes. And so the land of heroes had a real beef with the Stormcast because
Right.
they kept stealing their souls to make
Souls,
Stormcast,
right?
right?
Yeah.
But they had a real beef with the Ossiarchs because they're like, you're stealing your souls to make like these freaking like bone things, right? And so it was this really cool little narrative of this one afterlife doing their darndest to hold out against these two massive overwhelming forces that they knew at some point we're going to just take over, but like they're doing everything they can to just preserve what little of their life is left, unlife, as it were. So it was just super cool. So go find that in the vault if it's in there. I hope it's in there at this point,
Right.
and see if you can read it. So
So one thing with Mike, with talking about Gur, there was one passage in there too that not only did they use the bones from Beesinger, but they used amber bone as well.
Yeah.
During the course of it, and I would actually like to hear a bit more about what the effects of amber bone are when you use it to create these constructs.
Yeah.
That's something I'd love for them to explore, or actually for us to be able to explore as we tell narratives. What are the effects of amber bone upon a construct?
Yeah. Another thing I'm very intrigued in how they explain this one. I don't even know if they thought about it. Talks about the many fossils and of ancient behemoths that they use.
Mm-hmm.
Fossils, for those who aren't aware, the process of fossilization is when like minerals in the earth soak into things and preserve it. Fossils are not bones.
Technically not bones.
Not bones.
They were so soaked with rock that they became rock. So there's not bone Ossiarchs out there. Sometimes there's stone Ossiarchs made of rock. And I want to see like if there's like a Mortison out there who's like, okay, if it was bone, but now rock, I can shape it. Let me try to shape normal rock.
Or I want to see a spinoff of like the OBR going after like the Flintstones, and they're like, we want our bone tithe, but they're just giving them rocks the entire time.
Like the stone currency they use.
Yeah. It's all carved and stuff like that in there.
Would that be the Rock of Ages?
Yeah.
I should have sung that. Sorry, I didn't want to pay the dollar.
Yeah, that's okay. Joe, it's on my tab. Go ahead. Sing what you want.
He's not here. Yeah, and then we come into what is the hour of ruin.
Well, actually, real quick before that, Will, too, in that similar passage, one of the things they had and it's a more general kind of idea about like the OBR, but they did just mention it in that kind of area of the stories where they create these bone farms, right? Like they're trying to just constantly be harvesting, and I was just like, did OBR just start mining for crypto coins like way back in the day? Yeah. They've just got this like passive setup, and they're like, just keep making bones for us, guys. But that was kind of cool, just the way that they actually labeled it explicitly as a bone farm. That was kind of a neat.
How many times have we talked over the last 100 episodes of the story phase about where are the farmers? Where are the farmers in Age of Sigmar? And now we know where they are. They're bone farmers.
We know OBR. We know what they're doing.
Come on down to the Bone Farm, which is a club I'm not allowed into anymore.
One of the cool things in this, there's like a passage too where I think it was Vokmordian.
I think it's the very top of the book.
Yeah.
And
he's talking about like, it was just this beautiful bit of prose about, him going to collect the tithe essentially. And he's at this like village and telling him, this is what I need from you guys. Hey, this is what it's going to be. This is the deal. No, you don't get anything in return. Why would you ask? But I think he said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said like half of all the ulnas and radiuses, which if you're not familiar with bones, one in every two ulnas and radius. So meaning, right, either you're cutting off one person's arms entirely on average, or you're cutting one arm off of every person, right? It's functionally what that tithe ends up being. The part that I found super interesting was he's only asking for the ulnas and radiuses, and so what do you do with the hand? Do you do you save the bones because they're probably going to ask for more later? Because I apologize. This is all right. I see Paul's coming to sit down, so I'll wait to make the pun the second he gets back. But as far as utilize, you don't want to give him extra stuff, right? Because there's no onus for a bonus for the OBR.
Oh, he's leaving again.
We're gonna miss
reason. Come on, onus for a bonus. Come on.
No, but it was interesting, right? And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but like you're only taking the forearm bones. You're not taking any of the wrist, fingers, all that kind of stuff. That's not what they asked for.
I will say the grammar of it is like there's a space, and then he does start listing other bones. So he basically is saying, give me half of all the bones you have.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm going to need 50% bones.
How you do it, don't care.
I'm not asking for the how. I'm asking for the bones.
If each person gives me half their skull, I'm cool with it.
Right.
If every other person gives me a skull, I'm fine with that too.
Or if it's 2 out of every 4, whatever. You guys, you figure out the math. I'm just delegating right now.
Yeah.
I'm not the evil undead accountant here, right?
Exactly.
Like, I'm just trying to fill my quota.
It was really neat how they tied in the Vokmortian's taking of skulls, so his actual staff that has skulls hanging from it, how the leader actually saw one of the close communities, the leader of that, his skull actually hanging from his staff.
Yeah, the ruler of high staff.
I really like how they tied that into the story too.
Yeah, well, I like because he recognizes the ruler of high staff on Vokmortian's high staff.
Weird how that happened.
Hang on a second.
I just like it's a beautiful piece of art too, of Vokmortian just towering over, and you see this marshal looking at the contract like confused because this is a military man in a fantasy world. He probably doesn't know how to read, and it's a language he doesn't speak. But the Whisper Blade, who's supposed to be like the master of spies and communications, and is there to silence, like they're almost like a propagandist. They're almost like the secret police.
Mm-hmm.
She looks horrified. She's like,
you're falling, even just saying, "Oh, what?
Whoa!" And he like literally was going to threaten Vokmortian, and the Whisper Blade just like does like the hand across the neck.
Chill.
Cool.
I love Vokmortian's bone dreadlocks. I enjoy that as a hairstyle that they gave him. I really enjoy that piece of it. With obviously with the cities. I don't know. I know we talked about a famous bard of the mortal realms last time, and I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the latest hits of the bards of the mortal realms, and I want to be clear that while listening to the last episode, I'm well aware that a similar pun was made, but I came up with this before I listened to that, so I'm taking credit anyway.
Before you listen to yourself,
Wait. Let me slip this in here. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yep.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, don't. Just the money machine's gonna be spinning real quick. But there was the Bone Tithes in Harmony. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of them, but it was a Cities of
the Crossroads.
I've got 2 songs for that one that I've heard allegedly from them. There was one where they go, and again, this is a group of Dawners essentially speaking as the oppressed of the Ossiarch Bonereapers. They had one where they're just hoping for access to bones that they just don't have, and they're going, and we pray and we pray and we pray, bones today, bones today. There's that one. There's also tell me what you're gonna do when there ain't nowhere to run, when the bone tithe comes for you, and it's gonna come for you. And then of course my personal favorite, and this goes back to the calendrification or whatever made up word I said earlier. But
come to calendrification.
But there was my favorite is wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month, so get up, get up, get up, get your bones and come on, to bring them on down to the Nexus. But yeah, just a couple of little tunes, couple of ditties that I really enjoyed. That I can't remember where I found it, but it's out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surprised you didn't talk about the Mortisans' inner circle when they sing about the bone tithe, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you, bone tithe? Is this the biggest breach of protocol that the Mortal Realms story phase has ever had?
Yeah, you talk about me and my puns. Davey's having an aneurysm here. All these the number of dollars. To get us back on track.
Make sure you wait. Well, at the end of this episode, you make sure you edit in memoriam of Davey.
Yeah,
dead from too many song references.
2 Bone Thugs in Harmony. Coming crossroads. All right. So there is a page. I don't usually talk about the paint in these Battletomes, but there's a particular page that is, I find to be just like absolutely fantastic. And it is the page that talks about the paint scheme of the Petrifex Elite.
Yeah.
And they have a sweet setup with the Petrifex Elite versus the Anvils of the Heldenhammer. And my goodness, whoever painted these sets of miniatures, because it's not just one, it's both. And they painted the same colors for the black, the same colors for the red. They gave the Ossiarchs a white as an accent color and a blue. And we only see the back, but like the Stormcast have the gold. And oh my goodness, are they gorgeous and so well matched? And it's such a beautiful setup. It just looks absolutely awesome. So, and then the next page with the Ivory Host, they did kind of the same thing with the Iron Jaws. Like they did a really good job of making some absolutely stunning battle setups in this book.
And like non-traditional colors that you normally see too, right? It's not something that is what you associate with box art, especially.
Right.
But it's cool to get that like inspiration for like, oh, I can just paint them different colors. Like I know some people get like locked in and they're like, no, they're supposed to be purple and bone colored, but no, you can make them red, make them look cool. Another similar visual call out. I'm a map guy. I loved the map that we got off this one. I loved just a couple points on there. Sorry, I know we're living in time, but I think a couple of these are relevant, specific to the era of the Beast / Dawnbringers. There was the Greedmouth. I don't know if it's either 99th Whirlway or Realm Gate, but I love that it went to Gur because all roads lead to Gur and Talaxis. At all points, we are moving closer to Talaxis at any point in time. You're closer than you used to be. But yeah, I always like seeing those maps. They talk about, or they show the pictures that they've talked about in the past of how they build the bone bridges. You get that visualization of, how they just built bridges of bone to travel between continents. That was really cool. And then the spots they called out in this one, there was triptych. What are you guys saying?
Triptych.
Yeah, it's a triptych.
That makes sense. But that was where the battle with like Teclis had taken, or at least was a remnant of the battle with Teclis, where like these massive statues got animated and they got destroyed and they've since been rebuilt, which was kind of cool and also very on brand for OBR. Like, hey, knocked them all down. It reminds me of the Family Guy bit where they keep knocking down the Amish's barns and then they just immediately rebuild them right away. That's how I visualize OBR all the time. It takes them 0 time to rebuild.
Did you know that the Beastmen used to lead raids through these bone bridges? They were called the vertebrae herds.
Hey,
and here I thought it was a real fact.
I feel like if you had pitched that to GW, we'd still have them around.
If only we were so close, it could have been here.
One episode ago, they're fine. Everyone stop making fun of them being gone. They're okay.
They were the backbone of the Beastmen. That's all I got to say.
One thing, since we're talking about the triptych, I wanted to. There's a listener question. It's a 2-parter from Borbo. First part: does the new tome reference any previously unseen constructs that would work well in epic scale games instead of AOS? That is to say, what's OBR's Parasite engine equivalent? To answer the first part, I didn't. Maybe you guys can correct me. Didn't catch any like unforeseen constructs and stuff outside of the rules, which I'll come back to.
In the Plane of Equus, they didn't necessarily strictly mention them, but they did allude to. I think that's where like the horse crews came from initially, but they just talked about how this is where they just make the bodies and then they go, well, this one doesn't work, and they just send it. They go, get rid of it, and they just chuck it out into the Plains of Equus.
And then the Ossiarch lords use it as hunting practice.
Yep, they're like, we got to stay sharp, and so they're just hunting down freaks.
I'm gonna have a hot take here. You hear my hot take?
Yeah.
The fortresses are the Pestilence engine size constructs.
That's what I say. The triptych themselves, they are massive, massive constructs that came to life during the battle. That's their purpose. So yeah, Paul stole the thunder. That's exactly what they are.
I'm like a storm.
Not the thunder. Well, we answered the question. I should say not stole the thunder, but
collectively answered it. You got a double answer from multiple hosts.
The quote unquote Imperial Titan of the setting, to deal with the giant Tyrannid version of the Parasite engine. But yeah, if there's going to be a crazy kaiju, it's going to come from the plains of Equus.
Yeah.
Bone kaiju.
Yeah. Ugh.
Also, sorry, I think you said fortress, Paul, and I know obviously the pictures continue to haunt us throughout the books of this beautiful fortress terrain.
They added more.
Yeah. I do want to say, if you're good on the internet, it might exist some places, maybe not officially, but I think somebody has made similar, completely legally and distinct bone fortress walls. If you're interested out there,
Technically different.
not even technically, legally different.
Legally distinct.
Well, if they're not selling it, can they?
Right? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry that you inspired me so much. Isn't that the whole point?
Yeah. Any other notes about current era before we move on to how the faction is organized and dive a little bit deeper into their motivation?
So this is not a small release. This is a large release, and we're actually getting a decent amount of new units, right?
Yeah.
But as I mentioned to begin with, this is really a force that is because Catacross exists, right? And so we're going to kind of get into that a little bit later about how the fact that Catacross is the head of this force plays into a little bit of the lore and the narrative of where this large release comes from. So that's the only kind of like point in the sand that I want to make before we move on.
I think it's actually worth kind of digging into what it is that's leading to it. And then we can dive more into the models when we get to them. But I think history-wise and story-wise, this is worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in the Hour of Ruin. The Skaven are
rats.
Boom. Rats everywhere. And we had kind of seen a little bit about this in Dawnbringers. When we had the Ossiarchs kind of protecting the borders of Ushrin's realm, they talked a little bit about how all of the Ossiarchs were pulling back, starting to defend, like almost they could feel the tremors.
Right.
And yeah, it turns out they were preparing for what would become the Vermin Doom. Catacross is sitting there trying to figure out how to hit back, how to wage war. We mentioned how they haven't really been in the forefront of the story of the Ossiarchs. And so Catacross decides to mix it up a little bit and bring in units that he never would have previously.
Right.
Specifically archers, assassins, and chariots.
Is that they're called archers. I've been calling them bone arrows.
How do I kiss?
We need that around the horn button. I agree with you. Just like a big noise.
Posted by my own
30 seconds.
By my own PJ Shard. With that, there was a story early on where they talk about like Catacross like fighting against the rats, I think, right? And it was cool. Just they painted this really awesome picture of just the stoicism and the kind of like the Spartan style warfare that the Ossiarch were engaging in and holding against like the rats and how just disorganized they wwere. And he just let them keep throwing themselves at their wall. And then finally, when they were starting to just kind of run out, he was just like, all right, well, let's get them, boys. And they start marching forward. And, I really like that. That was a cool, I felt like it kind of been placed better in the book, maybe just like with that transition into like the more modern rat smashing that's going on. But I like that a lot to bring in a lot of like set the scene for the modern era of OBR.
Yeah, I want to ask you a quick question, Will. Why is it that archers and chariots are weird for Catacross to bring in?
Because he doesn't like them. Well, he doesn't like chariots.
He doesn't like chariots.
Doesn't have an opinion on archers.
He's been going to therapy though. He's okay with it now. He realizes he hates his parents, not chariots.
In the past, Death never really had ranged units. Even going back to Warhammer Fantasy, the whole thing was that they were kind of foot sloggers. There was one exception. There was an army in Warhammer Fantasy that was death related that had skeleton archers and had chariots, and I think this is where Paul is guiding us towards.
Look at tasty carrot.
Before I talk about and fall into his trap, I did want to just comment real quick on the story Mike was talking about, which is that battle with Catacross perfectly encapsulates what a game of Age of Sigmar is for me. Because he talks about, okay, I'm going to, master tactician. I'm going to have one unit go slightly above the others. My opponent is basically brain dead. They're going to charge everything in. And I'm going to have the cavalry flank take out all of their soft stuff on the sides, their important heroes, and have the archers finish them off. In this scenario, I am the Skaven player. I'm like, ooh, a tasty morsel. Charge, charge, charge. And I get wiped immediately.
Well, if it isn't myself defeating myself.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow. So that's what it looks like from the other side.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
But with that being said, Paul, we can dive into the main combo.
So I got one more quick point here, right? Which is that in the Ossiarch Bonereapers lore, they also talk about the specific element that they use called Nadirite. And Nadirite is this like special, super strong bone matter that they use for all of their weapons and everything else, which makes them look super cool and super awesome. So I have a problem. We'll probably go into it later because it's a big problem for me, right? Because you can talk when you're talking about the Mortek Guard. There's a whole big thing about Nadirite blades, right? And you can see how they're painted kind of slightly differently. And because Catacross is the big bad, right? And this whole thing is what his ideal is. I have a real problem with bringing chariots into the lore. Number one, because they're super TK coded, to use the language the kids are using. But number two,
I've never heard a child say that. I've never heard a teenager. Paul's just stolen valor over here. Like, yeah, hey, fellow kids, skateboard over his shoulder. Is this TK coded or what?
Totally TK coded to me. But the other thing is that it's just not crazy enough for what I love about the Ossiarchs.
That's what it is for me. Yeah.
I agree with Paul on something.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So one of the things that I brought up specifically was that the chariot wheels themselves are banded in metal in the model that they have, that they showed at their preview, and then it's in the army book.
Wait, Paul, before you go any further, this is also a listener question. Will, do you have it handy? It's a quick one.
Yeah, it's very quick. We talked about patron of the show, Rogue Michael, says chariot wheels, discuss.
Yes.
Great question, Rogue Michael. All right, continue, Paul.
There wasn't a question mark, oddly enough. But
it was a demand. You don't have to ask questions. You can just ask us to do things.
You're welcome, Rogue Michael. So the issue is this: if we've got this like super hard bone that does everything, why do you have to wrap wheels in metal? It's just weird. It doesn't make sense to me, lore-wise. It's a cool model. Don't get me wrong. In isolation, this model is really cool. The seeds look really awesome. The guys on back look really cool. I like how they've kind of moved forward in Ossiarch design in this release with the way that they've done the heads, and they've made them into something that's new and characterful. And don't get me wrong, the model itself is cool. But lore-wise, it's a big issue for me because it's directly against what Catacross wants. And I don't feel like we get a really good reason besides Nagash told him to. And his literal only lore thing about Nagash is that he is as stubborn as you can possibly be about the things that Nagash tells him to do, right? And so even if I were Catacross Cross, and was told to jump around with this chariot, right? I would come up with something that was not like, I would do every kind of letter of the law thing that I would do to come up with a chariot and have it not be a chariot, right? I would take one of those big characters that's on the legs in the throne and just have it throwing things around or something crazy.
This is what we like to call an anti-job interview, where Paul hears something from an authority figure and he says, I would literally do anything but what you've asked me to do.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I want him to be the character that he is in the lore, specifically and particularly in Ossiarchs, because the whole faction is bound around him.
Yeah.
And this isn't crazy. This isn't interesting enough for me. and it's not Ossiarch enough for me. It's not crazy enough for me. It's the only unit that exists like that. But
well, and so they hide snippets of this lore in different parts of the book. I wish they just like came right out and said this is why.
yeah,
Because in the bestiary entry for the chariot, it says like, oh, in the war of life and death, Catacross was trying to figure out like, well, the Lumineth are faster than us and they have mounted archers. So the only way to deal with mounted archers is a chariot. I'm sitting here like, okay, if Catacross is very like logically minded, if his thing is mounted archers, I thought he was going to do like the centaur dude from the Warcry band,
yeah.
Well,
with just a bunch of those centaurs with bows.
And
Like
the dogs, right? You know,
I was gonna
like,
say, what's crazy is that like that's like a lot of the Gur stuff is built like they talk about it in the book. Like a lot of the things that are built by OBR and Gur are built for speed, like those dogs and the harpies and stuff like that. Like yes, I'll get into that later too because that's I got a lot of detail on the Warcry stuff if you can believe it.
yeah, what?
But like the they know what to do to if they're worried about like getting what how do you deal with it in actual warfare, right? Like archers, you engage them, you put something on them. You know, obviously you're going to take some losses while they're shooting, but like they can't shoot if they got somebody in their face, and that's the whole point. So that's why they started making faster things so they could get to things faster and hunt them down. Just it is surprising that they didn't pivot in that same way, Paul. I agree, multifaceted though, like broader picture. I have like issues with like the biggest, most simplified version of it is like, okay, we've got all these bones, we can build whatever we want. We've got our biggest
whatever we want.
Literally.
Literally, imagine something. I can build it, right?
And this goes
so
far beyond the chariot qualm. But like they have all these things and they just keep building regular guy. Like our smartest people have been on the case and we've built a thing that kind of looks like a man. Well. They're souls. They don't have brains. They don't need big heads. That would like, they're such like an efficiently minded army. It's weird to me that like, and sorry, I'm criticizing like the first models they ever made, but like to me, it's like they should be building far more alien concepts because
I will push back on that a little bit. I think we should get far more alien things, but the point of them being like shaped like people is Nagash is building his Necrotopia, and it mentions in not as much in this one, but in past Battletomes for sure that like the Ossiarchs are the Necrotopia. The Mortisans are not just making things; they are culture, and so they're going to look kind of like people because Nagash in his infinite wisdom chose to look kind of like people still, and he wants everyone has to be Nagash.
I will accept my girlfriend actually goes to a different school and wasn't in this Battletomes answer.
Right.
Oh, the answer's not here, Mike, but you didn't read
it's
that
not,
one,
it's
so
not
I can
this
say
one.
whatever I want.
It's another one.
And the thing is, I understand that the lore is kind of hidden around in different parts of the Battletome, and it does make sense, and it is valid for everything except for the fact that Catacross is the major character and he determines everything. And there is actually a really simple lore thing they could have done to make it make sense.
Yes.
And the lore thing is, oh, hey, remember how his body is kind of failing and it doesn't last as long as he wants to? Oh, turns out he had to put chariots in his army because he couldn't get to the battlefields in order to actually, because his body kept falling apart. That's all. Like, make it an actual problem for Catacross to have to figure out, right? And that would have been great. But like, back to your point, right, Mike? Like, even if they're gonna do TK coded stuff, do bone snakes. Do bone worms, like do necrosphinx, like
those get reprinted though. We're not going to undercut that profit line.
Well, but like anything, right? You know,
I agree.
Yeah. In my head, the answer to a chariot isn't like a chariot, but an Ossiarch version would just be like a platform with legs and swords that is like being driven by another crotch goblin skeleton thing, like the harvester. Like,
if they replaced all of the lazy ones with crotch goblins, I'm here for it.
We're good. So it's like I understand like the base Mortek looking like a person kind of has to make sense for their lore. Outside of that, we should get a little bit crazier.
Yeah.
But don't they? To me, I don't. What's the purpose of GW? GW is there to give us these models to go out, I think it's up to us. I think it's up to the individual pieces of us to go, I think that this chariot should look like Kit Bash, whatever you want.
Yep.
Right? Do whatever you want.
They didn't heed my request of I want OBR Lego. I just want to be able to just send me all the bits and just let me glue them together. Just don't make them hard to snip and trim.
Joe, you are championing the thing I always say.
I know. The pushback on the Catacross part, though, Paul, is to me as the one thing that we know as a master strategist, right? He is the really the preeminent strategist. Don't you think that he would take a look at the situation that he's in right now, knowing that we have to fight this mass of rats, and we have to fight the elves, the Lunamith. And what is the thing that we don't have? We don't have speed, and we don't have the ability to be able to destroy from afar. How do I do that? As a master strategist, he would. I think that he would go, these are the things that I need, and then understand. Yeah, does he have a lot of pride? Of course he does. He has a ton of pride, but I think that he would understand the realm of warfare enough to go, I need to be able to adjust to what's happening right now. That's why I'm going to be okay with doing chariots, and I'm going to be okay with doing archers. Now, we can have a discussion about the whole wrapping in iron. I get that. You have a bunch of bone. Why would you wrap in iron? Completely get that. But having those units themselves, I think that there is a reason that they're there.
I was gonna say, especially for the assassins and archers, there's like two things with this release that really highlight Catacross's personality. With the assassins and archers, the way he phrases it is like, yeah, I'm a master strategist. I have to react to what's going on. If those guys weren't cheating, I wouldn't need to do this. If you would just fight honorably, we would be cool. That's what I did. You all are cheating, so now I have to do this. It's like what his attitude.
So is he unimaginative because he's a bad cheater and he just is so tied to an honorable fight that he's like, I can't. Okay, I'll just copy that. I guess you cheat that way, I'll cheat that way. But yeah.
So since we're a lore podcast, I feel like I really have to call out that the archers are called the Triaxes, and the Reapers are the assassins, right? And to me, these are super cool new ideas that add to the texture and the lore of the Ossiarchs. Like the Triaxes in particular, that they only have one eye, right? Like, and especially when you can make it do anything and you give them an eye patch, like that's just cool, right? And you can use those heads, all right. Joe is giving me the wagging finger, so I'm
giving you the nodding head. I'll do the angel on the shoulder after Joe Devils, and Will, you get in there too.
Well, I was gonna say they give him one eye. They give him the skull eye patch because it's cool, but they're called Triaxes because, surprise, they have three eyes. They're just vertical.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, we want them to be the archers, right? So let's give them a skull eye patch. Let's skull that over. Okay, but now they can't see. So let's give them a third, like where the third eye is in the middle of the head. Bam. But what if their headdress? That's right. That's another eye.
So what you're saying is they're all one-eyed Willy, but with a
I'm 40% eyes.
Yeah.
But like that's cool. That's weird. That's different, right?
Yes.
Love it. And
I don't need an explanation for it because it's so cool. Just
exactly
put an eye on their back because what if they get snuck up on? Sure. Who cares? That's fun and silly and different. I want fantasy.
Well, but like this is the thing, right? The Triaxes actually fix what my major problem with the Ossiarchs were before. If you don't like the way that the normal guys look, right? The Mortek Guard, buy Triaxes, use their heads, put them on the Mortek Guard, and then all of a sudden you've got a completely unique army that looks human and yet not, right? Like it actually fixes so many things, and that's awesome and amazing. And the Mortis Reapers, like, they just look cool.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about them because they look cool. And lore-wise, it makes sense that they would wear these cloaks and whatever because they're supposed to be hiding in the shadows and maybe bone glints in a way that I don't know. Like you could give them all kinds of different ideas, right?
I love, real quick, Paul, I love the idea of one of the crematorians in that faction, like of the Reapers. They're like hiding in the shadows, but also completely aflame.
Their cloak is just
which is why they need cloaks, right?
Right? Or what are the ones that cover themselves in like gold and precious metals and stuff like that? Like they're also, there's a single beam of light and it's a disco ball when they're in the room because they've got it.
I don't know what it is about putting a cloak on a model that just all of a sudden makes it look amazing, right? Still to this day, Sacrosanct is my favorite look in
100%.
Right in
Joe's favorite supervillain for any movie ever is the lady that makes the costumes from The Incredibles. It says no cloaks. Joe's like, I could never understand this woman.
Well, so speaking of capes, right? This is a really weird way that we're doing the podcast today, so I apologize to listeners if you thought we had something like actually about an order. But the Liege Mortek is a perfect example of just add a cape to something, and it just looks awesome, right?
Yes.
And you don't need a cape, but the fact that you have a cape makes it look better, but it also adds a ton of character, right?
It's just depth and gravitas that it would not have if it was a skinny bone boy just chilling right there.
And I know I'm beating a dead, soul-shredded horse thing that has the failures of 1,700 legions within its breast, but on the chariot, you know what they don't got? Capes. Right? Like, they're just kind of dudes, and it's cool, and it's new, and it's interesting, and it's obviously gorgeously sculpted, and the idea is a wonderful execution. I just wanted something a little bit more kind of crazy, right? And to go to the Liege Mortek.
There you go. The cape could have solved it for me. I've got deep issues with the lore, but if they put a cape on it, I tell you what, I'm in fully.
I tell you what, it does actually make cool, right?
The hero version, the hero version of the Cavalos does have a cape.
It does.
It does look a lot better than the
because it's the profile, right? It shows the motion, and when you have a chariot that's supposed to go fast, and nothing in the chariot shows motion, it doesn't look like a chariot, right?
For sure.
I want to put out one quick thing, and I'll stop ranting, and you all can go and right. But I love.
Will, just make sure you put a timestamp and Paul rant.
We're not recording.
Okay, AI will do it.
We stopped a while ago. This is just for us, but
So the Liege Mortek, right, on his page, talks about how cool he is and how interesting he is, right? But I love the little illustration, because the little illustration on page 33 is a little bit of a spoiler for the new Underworld Warband.
Yes.
Before you two hopped on, me and Joe are talking. I'm like, that's a. Wait a second. What? Like because I made a note of that thing before they announced that warband of like, I have to bring up what this is because I have no idea. And then
what are they doing? And they released it yesterday, 2 days ago before we're recording this. Like they put it like we've been planning this, and then they drop it and it's like, well, content, baby.
And it's cool because they've got it shows the little symbol, the little foot symbol for the Moriel cast, which is me taking the reins back and asserting control. And so we can talk about how is this faction organized and how do they live and lead their life at home. And I was bored at work today, so I cataloged the different casts of the Ossiarch system and then which models and units fit into each cast. I'm not going to list every unit, but there's a cool page on page 16 that's got like the different symbols of the cast, and this has been in past battle tomes. But now that there's more models, it kind of means a bit more. So top of the pyramid, top of the ziggurat,
the reverse funnel,
reverse
vampires.
They don't even say it as a cast. It just says the royal cartouche is a symbol of the Mortarchs. But the only person who wears it is Catacross, because even though Arcan the Black is a Mortarch and he does command Ossiarch Bonereapers, He's like, I've been here forever. I've been here since worlds gone by. Catacross is going to tell me to wear a special badge. Get out of here, nerd.
Yeah, he's
Like,
got grandfathered in for the
yeah,
uniform. He gets to wear what he wants to work.
yeah. Then we get the
Arcane's wearing slippers today.
yeah. And that symbol's like a head, but with vampire teeth, which is interesting because Catacross doesn't have those. Then we've got the Emissarian cast. Symbol is like a weird gaping mouth. And that is our priest sorcerer leaders. We got Bakmordian, some of the Mortisans, the Soul Reaper and Soul Mason, but not all of them because they show up later. Next is the Panoptic cast. This is an all-seeing eye in a pyramid because it is the commanders. So all of your various lieges fall into this cast. Anyone who's a commander is Panoptic, essentially.
Panoptic, yeah.
We have the Ossifact cast. This is the constructors. So this is the rest of our Mortisans. It also includes the Gothazar Harvester. So I do love the idea of this massive, like, inhuman-looking construct walking up and then, like, going to a security checkpoint and having to wave his top secret badge to get in.
I'm imagining him like taking his shoes off for TSA.
Yeah.
Just emptying all the bones onto the conveyor belt.
He has to take his crotch skeleton off and put it in the
Sir, did
belt.
you pack this bone cage yourself?
Oh yes. Oh no, sorry, the crotch goblin helped me. My apologies.
Yeah.
I stuffed them in there, I did.
I love that everything else is English, but the crotch goblin 100% British. He's a bit cockney, isn't he?
Then we got the Priad cast, Priad, Priad. I don't know, Toyota Priad.
Yep.
They
These
are
ones
the-
charge electricity as they march.
Yeah, they call these the specialists. So your Cavaloses, and then the big forehead guys and the forearm guys. I put the Mortis Reapers in here, but I don't. It doesn't say what cast they're
Where they
in
go,
Makes
because
sense though.
they're wearing ponchos that cover up their badge. So I couldn't figure it out, but this makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
Thorak, literally ribs, is our Mortak, our Triaxes, our basic soldiers. Then we've got the Mornial cast, the Servant cast. Up until literally this week, the only model we had for this was on Catacross's base. The Aviarch Spymaster is a part of this cast. He's got the symbol. Same thing with the Scroll Bearer has the symbol. They don't. Every model on his base has a name, except for the Scroll Bearer. I'm like, I wonder why. But in that art piece with the story of Catacross leading the army against the Skaven, you see the Scroll Bearer gets his dome popped open by a Skaven Jezzail, and there's another one already replacing him. Like, that's the guy who dies first every time.
Every time.
But now we also gained the Casket Carriers in the new Underworld's Warband as the new lowest of the low. But the only thing you can be worse than being the lowest is the Outsider,
Yep.
which is the Para cast, which kind of sounds like Pariah. And right now, as it is, the only ones are the Tyrannic cohort. Yeah, so we have an organization, we have rankings. I know Aaron loves that. He loves having people in their place and seeing if there is any movement and kind of like fitting into their roles.
He loves spreadsheet allegory.
Yeah.
It's
This is him. This is his army.
no, it is really cool though, just because you do have like it's such a regimented faction, and now to have such a clear delineation of okay, this is what this very again regimented army is doing and how they're structured. It's a really cool way to kind of visualize it a little bit better. And you know, if you want to kind of play with them, it gives you a fun idea of how you can structure it and be like, well, these guys are, you know, this part of the army, that's what they would be doing. You can kind of role play a little bit with them on the table as well, which is kind of fun.
And it goes back to what Paul was saying about like, what do you do with the parts of the souls you don't use?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can think about it. Like, let's say you take a great mortal sorcerer king. He's a leader of a nation. He's got his weapons. He's got his magic. You could cut that up into a bunch of guys. You take the leading stuff, part of the soul, throw that in the Panoptic
Right.
cast.
Mm-hmm.
Take the magic skill, throw that in the Emissarian, and just the fighting stuff. Just split that up against a bunch of Mortex. Call it good.
And then his 11th toe, you could put in the
Yeah.
outcasts category.
So it's because when you are a Mortisan, when you are a soul mason and you're putting this stuff together, it's cool to know you're building to design. Like, all right, I know I need to make a new unit of Cavalos Death Riders. I got all these souls. Let me pick the things that are good and then put the rest back in the box. It's my bits box. I can use those later. I have a future project. I don't know what it is yet, but it'll come in handy.
It reminds me of like tastemakers for like whiskey and stuff like that. Like at distilleries, master distillers, they go around and like sample all their barrels, and they know how they want to make their like, you know, their flagship blends and stuff like that. And they're just like, all right, I know, all right, I'm going to take this little part of this soul, blend it with this percentage of this soul. And then I know I'm going to get a regular guy that can ride a horse and take care of business. So it's a cool, there's a lot of cool, like real life, corollaries to that kind of idea of, you know, taking multiple and making it one, and making it better than the sum, right? Or making the sum better, greater than, or the whole greater than, making it good, making it more gooder.
Yeah.
So, Will, where does the Grand Necromystic fit into this scheme?
Yeah, so Grand Necromystic, I am annoyed that he is not, or they are not prominently featured in this book. We dance around the Grand Necromystic. I want to, for those who are unfamiliar, the Grand Necromystic is, I would say they are an emissarian because they are a master mage, but they also build massive constructs. So an argument could probably be made for a constructor, because what they do is they just build massive war constructs that they then jump into and just start tearing things up. They besieged Lethis. Of course, they failed, but this happened in a White Dwarf campaign. A little, I think 3 issues of White Dwarf covered this.
Yes. Yep.
And it's weird they're not more prominently featured, because they don't. It's a named character that doesn't need a model, because their whole thing is you can make whatever model you want, and that's just what they are that day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Will, I have a really crazy question. Have you looked at the Path to Glory for this faction?
Yeah, so I kind of hinted about this when we talked about the triptych, and when Joe was saying about creating your own stuff. The cool thing about the rules and the Path to Glory in this is they literally just go, yeah, whatever, make what you need.
Yeah.
What do you tell me what you want to make? We got rules for it.
Hey, we got femurs, we got elbows. What do you need?
Yeah.
You need a big bone robot. You need a small bone robot. We got bots of all sizes. It's insanely cool.
Yeah. There is actually a build for basically something that is a huge construct.
Yeah.
There is a
build for it. Yep.
And you can give them a catapult too, right? You can just stick a catapult on whatever weird robot you've made.
I mean, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Just walking around and be like, what if this guy can shoot stuff from really far away?
Yeah.
It's Trebuchet Man.
Where do you think Hnoken Kamanen came from?
Exactly.
Are you going to reverse engineer?
No. Yeah.
No.
I already did.
That's what I'm saying. You got to build the profile now from the model and the lore and the history.
Yeah.
With I want to just run back real quick to but also run parallel to this one. Whoa, tie it together, pull it back, masterful. Whoa. You can be the judge if I nail it or not. No, with just like all the different creations and things like that, right? Like making all this different kind of stuff. I loved about the triaxes that they strictly call out that they have had a model for an archer in OBR previously within Canaan's Reapers, and the way that they address it is very funny because they go, yeah, dude, that thing sucked. We could not send that out. It was not sustainable. It wasn't efficient. It wasn't effective. So we don't make those anymore. Very few and small parties exist, but then we figured it out with these triaxes. Don't you worry. We got these guys rocking and rolling. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was just cool because it shows that iterative nature of, for all the critiques around, hey, he's making new things that don't feel exciting or necessarily sensical. I do feel like that was a really cool way to go. And the bows are different, right? Like the one from Canaan's Reapers is a different bow to what the Triarchs have, I believe. So that's really cool to like see how, how that's evolved for a single unit becoming more, functional with it. It's kind of like when you're watching Star Wars and you see the Death Star, and then in the next two movies you see the Death Star 2, and then in the next movie in order you see the Star Killer base, which is Death Star 3. It's really cool to see how they evolve in their ideas. So.
Yeah, and it's better every time.
Every single time.
And it won't blow up any of the 3 times.
Don't you worry. This thing's safe this time.
Yeah.
We only put 14 exhaust ports on it.
Yeah. I wanted to point out one quick. We're jumping around all over the place, and I'll take
There's no rules.
Responsibility for that point.
I'm trying to get us back.
So I want to take one quick little thing, and this is in the War Scroll section. We usually don't cover much stuff in the War Scroll section because it's all about the rules and everything.
Except there is lore in there.
But there is some lore in there. On the Mortis Reapers War Scroll page, there's actually a super cool, as far as I can tell, conversion of one of the new models to go with one of the lore pages about going onto a KO airship. And that's just super cool. I love, this is the thing that makes me really, really enjoy these little battle tomes. When you have a cool little conversion to illustrate a story, it just adds so much depth and so much interest to the story itself. At the very least, it is an alternative color scheme miniature that is painted next to the Reapers. Maybe it's something that you can make, but it looks like it might be a bit of a conversion. So it's just super cool. Like, put that much thought into a little lore story that's on the War Scroll pages. That's awesome and amazing, and please do that 100% more, because that's fantastic.
That model in particular made me a lot more excited. So like those models for me are cool, but I don't love like the box art color scheme that they went with. But seeing it's got like a white cloak instead of these, like, it's just a lot of darker like motifs or just like darker colors all the way through the original models. And just like this one, it feels like almost like very Prince of Persia. It kind of gave me that vibe, just because he's got the white cloak and the white hood and stuff like that. But that definitely made me more excited about these models, just because I'm excited to see what other people like, as they hit the wild and people start getting them painted up. I'm really excited to see what creative ideas people have for color schemes, because I think because they have the cloaks, because they've got a lot of interest and also regularity within them through the regular OBR kind of construct pieces. I'm just excited to see what people can come up with, because I think there's going to be some really wild color schemes out there for them.
Okay, taking the reins real quick. Just
whatever you need to have the illusion of control. We're going to talk
about
what we want to
any
talk
kind
about.
of plan. It's totally my fault. I apologize.
We're going to talk about who's really in control, which is the listeners.
Nice.
Just while we're in this section about how this faction is organized, we have a few questions from listener Darth Alec. And these were ones I thought were interesting and I think really come up in this battle tome, which is GW has spent a lot of effort giving factions internal tensions lately. Do we see any of that here?
The only thing that came to mind here was we had the story early on in the book, and it was basically a narrative by Cato Ezekiel, who's kind of walking through what the OBR faction is and what the different pieces are. So he talks about actually fighting with them, but also fighting against them at times. And then his encounter specifically with a Necropolis Stalker. That was the one story that I could think of that kind of fit this question of the conflict, but it's internal to the Death faction, not specifically inside of OBR itself.
I do just want to call out that as much as I loved all of the character-driven storytelling in the last book with Nurgle, I loved getting that Cato perspective in this book too.
Yeah,
it was so cool to see him just like and have that lived experience that he's kind of professing on, right? He's just saying, hey, this is what it's like, this is what these guys are, this is what they do. And it's just really cool to have one of the more centralized Death characters, more recognizable ones, giving that perspective and seeing that side of it. I 100% agree, Joe. I don't agree. I'm adding that. Sorry, you didn't say that. But thank you for bringing it up because I was going to force it in somewhere.
Yeah, I actually put it like other notes at the end, just because one, I love seeing Kato. He's great, but also where this is coming from, so to speak. It's not Kato writing a letter to somebody. It's not Kato talking or having a conversation. This is an excerpt from the Ossian Blade,
Yep.
Musings on the Battle Tactics of the Bone Reapers by Kato Ezekiel.
Mm-hmm.
This dude's got a published novel, which means that within the Grand Alliance of Death, people are purchasing now. Like, this book is being made and being traded and being shared, which is just not something you traditionally think of with the undead. But because the Ossiarchs do have personalities, and because we've got like the vampire cultures, yeah, there is a culture in death that is not just the continuation of undeath. Like, yeah, they're gonna read books. Neferata has like banquets sometimes. Like, this is a whole thing, and so by having Kato having written a book, it just fleshes out the Grand Alliance even more.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea that the only reason that it got published was because there's just like an overarching structure and like just over. It's like he's made like the bestseller list and it got published, but everybody's like, this guy's not actually that good of a writer. It's just because he's Kato and he's got the connections, he can get his books published. This guy's a way better writer. You want to read good prose? Get out this guy's stuff. But yeah, he's just pushing his book club list.
Well, and of course, it's kind of like a positive review of the Bone Reaper, so you know that Catacross like helped fund this one.
Forward by Nagash.
Yes, he had final edit approval. Yeah, and then another thing with the internal tensions. This was the second point I wanted to make about Catacross with the inclusion of the chariots, because the whole point is like Catacross is undefeated in everything he does, because he finds a way to say he's undefeated in everything he does. And so there's this internal tension in the sense that he introduces chariots. He's like, all right, guys, I thought about it. Boss told me. We're doing chariots. Chariots are in now. We have always been at war with Eurasia.
Bye.
And there's a lot of like his commanders who are like, boss, your whole thing was chariots bad. We don't want to do this. Who convinced you? Who bested you in a conversation to get you to do this? He goes, no, my idea. I'm never bested. You're a chariot now. I'm turning you into a chariot because you thought I could be bested in a conversation.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, like they're questioning their orders a little bit. Like, it made, to the extent that one of them go, I don't know if that's right, and then he just immediately turned him to a chariot, or if they had a more spirited disagreement, is almost irrelevant, because they're not automatons. They have personalities, and there is these weird tensions. Of course,
now you're a chariot. You can't argue back. All right, Wheels, get out there.
Yeah.
I lost one of them, so it's just going to be one. One piece that was interesting to me was just what is the relationship between Vakmordian and Catacross? Because listening to some of the older stuff, is there the potential for internal conflict between those two? Because obviously Catacross he's the head honcho. He goes, I decide what the OBR guys do. But isn't Vakmordian an extension of Nagash directly? And so couldn't there be a hypothetical situation in which Vakmordian says, Nagash needs this town, so I'm taking it over, and then Catacross is just like, we don't want that town, or it's an oversimplified version of it, but like I was just curious about like what you guys think on that potential conflict that could exist, or am I just misinterpreting what the relationship is?
I think it definitely could exist. And it's specifically just because they have differing goals and opinions.
Yeah.
Like, Nagash picked Catacross because Catacross is like, hey, I just want to win. Don't really care for who. I'll do it for you. You're going to make me powerful. Give me armies.
And then Vakmordian is just collecting bones like Funko Pops. He's just like, dude, I got to get more of these.
So like right now, like everything is aligned. But I mean, you're right. There could be a thing where the victory in battle and the hyper efficiency of the tithe,
Mhm.
they may not align.
Yeah.
Who knows what that would lead to if it's just like an after action report boardroom
Yeah.
meeting where like undead HR brings them in to have a conversation about it, or
Catacross tries to turn Throckmorton into a chair. He goes, "You can't do that right now. Nope, this is a safe space."
Throckmorton curls up in his coffin and lays down like a
He just
turtle.
closed it. Throckmorton, come out of the coffin. Come on, let's go. We can't talk to you in there.
Nagash said I could hide in here.
It's his will that I don't come out right now, actually.
I thought if there was going to be any more, if there was going to be any level of conflict, I thought that Arkan and Catacross would be more at odds, because Arkan is more of Nagash's yes man, right? He's more of his yes man. Throckmorton, I could just see him going, yeah, I'm just going to collect my tithes. You do whatever you want. Don't care. I'm just out here, But Arkan is the one that I could really see he and Catacross having an altercation at some point.
Yeah.
You old dead undead guy. Yep.
Yeah. That does kind of bring in a listener question. Patron of the show, Housh Soup, Housh. Sorry, I will have to ask you how to pronounce it again sometime. Which is Catacross a true believer, or does he harbor any ambition to topple or escape Nagash? What space is there, if any, to create an OBR force that isn't totally beholden to Nagash's will and goals? It's not that Catacross is a true believer. Like, it's not that he like worships Nagash. He just acknowledges that Nagash would beat him in a fight.
Yeah, he just kind of said like, all right, I've played this out to its end point and I don't win, so this is the second best version of what my life can be. Let me just, and so I guess, I mean, with that though, hypothetically, if he saw a way to beat Nagash, right,
would he go for it?
Yeah, like there's I think there's an interesting point there to be considered. But this book does not go into detail about any. It's a really cool space to explore, but yeah, it doesn't explicitly say that like secretly he's got a plan. Twiddly mustache.
Yeah, well, and it's because like there's the order of operations of Nagash's Grand Necrotopia. He squashes all of life. No problem.
Boo, boo.
Down with life.
Leave us alive, jerk.
Yeah, we want to live. Then the Bone Reapers would go out and harvest the rest of death, essentially, and just get rid of them. And then they would be the final piece to fall. Like, Nagash would then, like, all right, cool, thanks. And then snuff out all their souls, more or less.
Brutal.
So I could see, like, if Catacross does turn on Nagash, it's because they are literally the last two beings alive. Haha, snap.
So, to me, it came more to, where do you think the allegiance of the Bone Reapers would be? Would it be to Catacross, or would it be to Nagash?
Oh, I think it would be open, right? Because you've got that free thinking, so they would be able to make their determinations based on their lived experience and what they, how they perceive that power to exist. But that's a really cool question.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you going to say something else, Joe? Sorry, I jumped in there.
No, I was from a Mortek guard. You're not talking about a lot of personalities down at that level, so you're talking about their commanders, and that I thought you could see some fall one way, some fall the other, based upon those individual commanders. Because, like you said, they have their own personalities and their own thought processes. So they choose, and then would they choose for everyone that's underneath them as well?
Yeah.
And that's the question, because the original Mortisans were Arcan's black disciples. They were liches, and then he went, I can do something better with those bones. Check this out. And the Mortisans are the ones who take parts of the souls. They're the ones who shape the souls. So like at the highest level, they are kind of loyal to Nagash because they're loyal to the Black Disciples, who are loyal to Arcan, who are loyal to Nagash.
Right.
But how much control is there as that trickles down?
Yeah.
And then again, like, sure, maybe all the sorcerers are like, no, we worship Nagash. Nagash gives us all our powers. But then you have the military caste, the Panathic caste, who side with Catacross because he's a good military leader. now I'm suddenly getting into like the fall of Rome type divides and how like the army backed one while the Senate backed another, and I think there is a lot of potential in that how that could shape out.
Yeah.
So I've got a hot take, which is the Grand Necromystic is the
Yeah.
closest thing that we actually have to a conflict. It's not mentioned in this battle tome, but it was mentioned in the White Dwarf that he is around Lethis, and they're not going to leave until they get those Leviathan skeletons within the lake, Lethis. So that does seem like somewhat of a conflict because Catacross's usual MO is if he's going to stay somewhere, he's going to build a massive thing, right? But like the Grand Necromystic doesn't necessarily want to take over Lethis, just wants the bones within it. So it seems kind of interesting and potential for conflict there.
The interesting thing is, even though we don't get a lot of the Grand Necromystic, we do see a lot of his lieutenant, Kamir Hakane.
Bless you.
Yeah, sorry. Kamir Hakane. Hakane. Hakane.
Yeah,
and he's like, he's in the
construct
mountains.
bones on that thing. Hakane. Sorry, I had to.
Do Ossiarchs even have phlegm? Are we literally just like making up, like we're projecting ourselves onto the Ossiarchs now? This is crazy.
But this is the person who's in charge of like getting the materials for the Grand Necromystic. He's also doing like his own experiments. Like he's trying to make the stuff so when he gets those, he can do it. But it also says he has maintained the paranoia of his amalgamated souls. So like we've got Ossiarchs that are paranoid about other Ossiarchs stealing their research.
That's the worst part of the soul. Why did you give me this?
Yeah.
You made me the perfect undead soldier. Why did you give me 7 people's anxiety? Like, I don't understand. This seems like something you should definitely take.
I don't have a digestive system. I cannot absorb medication. There's no way to fix this.
Yeah, so like there's even conflict at the level of like it's not to the extent of like the Skaven warlocks, but it's that same like interior arms race that the Mortisans have about trying to make the best thing. Like the book talks about how the early Mortec archers were garbage and how they definitely improved it. So imagine that you are the guy who came up with that Mortec with a bow. Like, guys, here's what I have. And everyone else like, garbage. Horrible.
Dude,
You should be ashamed. Dude, you know what? I'm actually going to take this. I'm going to make something better. I'm going to come back, and that's what we're going to use.
How many eyes does it have? And they're just on the front? What are you doing? Yikes.
Horizontal?
Yeah. Mir Kanan, you approve this? Oh, disgusting.
Yes. Like weird reputations, and yeah, they have their cast off experience that go to the Equus planes.
I do love that it's just a trash can for them too. I didn't make that illusion before, but it's like they just dump their trash bodies. They go, well, this one didn't work. Out it goes.
Well, it's like
you can't reuse these bones, dude. Suck the soul out. Fix it. Just fix it.
What is the recycling program in the Ossiarchs? They got to be better than it at this point, right?
Dude, you're putting the shins in the blue bin again? I told you they go in the red bin.
They go in the red bin. How many times?
All right. Sorry. We've got I'm just chuckling at it. But to move on just a bit, we did cover these pretty much a lot, but thought I would bring it up just in case. How the lore intersects with the table. Actually, no, we still haven't talked about interacting with others, their enemies and allies. Who stands out as like their biggest enemies, and who stands out as their biggest friends? Would you guys say just from this battle tome?
Kind of feels like everybody's an enemy. I don't.
Yeah,
I didn't see a whole lot of people that were like, "Hey, pal, what are you up to?"
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%.
I mean, kind of
Except for-
looking back to the Dawnbringers, there was that one where they're just like, "Hey, what if we don't fight you?" And they're like, "Please don't fight us. We don't want
Yeah.
to either. Just let's all move on with our day." But yeah,
Oh,
again, not this.
the wall down. That sucks. Crazy. Anyway, fine.
Have fun on your adventure. Bye, buddy. I hope you
Yeah.
find your dad.
Yeah. Have fun storming the castle. Yeah, they do have a few mains. We talked about the Stormcast already.
Mhm.
Lumineth, huge.
Yes,
The
Lumineth,
War
yeah.
of Life and Death. We're still dealing with that.
Mhm.
And then I'm surprised we didn't talk a whole lot about Archaon and Chaos, because in the Slaves of Darkness book, there's a whole section about Archaon clearing his way through Shyish in like revenge. And here, like, Catacross doesn't even care. He's like, yeah, whatever. He's doing his own thing. I got to worry about these rats. These rats are the real problem.
Yeah.
Also, that Archaon guy's kind of a rat, but I'm not going to deal with him right now.
Yeah, he's basically the same thing. Which actually does listener question from Bird is not suicidal. Good job, Bird. Every day is a step forward. Don't be suicidal.
Woo! We promote it.
Yeah,
Not
we promote
being,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, not the yeah.
You can't ask questions.
No questions. Which is just any updates on the end gate, and not really, because like the whole thing, Archaon, and we definitely talked about this in past episodes. He didn't like smash through the gate and like tear everything down, conquer and stand above the skulls of his enemies. He went, so that portal is like skyscraper high, and the fortress is what, 2-3 stories tall. I'm just gonna fly over it.
Yeah.
Literally just flies over and goes into Shyish, and he's kind of just on a warpath on his own. So gate itself is fine, I guess. Not really, not much going on. Which is also actually patron of the show. Chrisling asks, "How's the Ark's Terminus getting along?" The Ark's Terminus is, of course, the name of the fortress at the end gate. It's fine. They're defending. They're still being attacked. Don't like it, but
they had that was one of the 3 locations they called out on like the map foldouts as well. It was kind of just cool. Always cool to get the details on them, learn a little bit about them if you're not familiar, or just get that little refresher and going, oh, cool, neat. The whole point of those is just to go, huh, awesome.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Neat.
Things mostly the same.
Yep. One real quick too, Will, just thinking about, I know I mentioned it before, but like I'm kind of fascinated that like Ideneth, the Ideneth that want souls aren't more perseverant on going, we should find these OBR dudes, because like they literally put the souls in a gem. What if we just had the gems, right? And like
just glue that to somebody.
Yeah, just eat it, dude. Let's see what you boof it. Put it wherever you need, right? Just like figure out a way to get that soul in you. But yeah, I think that would be a really cool like story or arc, whatever, right? To have that exploration of just like, we're trying to get souls. This is literally a soul vessel. Can I have it, please? Oh no, yeah. I will take it then.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about like the soul gems, the diadems that they have. But all I can think of is the 80s cartoon called Gem, where they're a girl band that like just takes over the universe.
No, that's what I was talking about. The girl band from the 80s that takes over the universe. What did you think I meant?
The Adoneths were like, we should have that.
Yeah.
Why would you not have an awesome all-girl underwater band? I mean, that sounds like
scary though, because to get TV, they have to run extension cables under the ocean, and it's super dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, the big problem with them as well is like they can't really mimic a lot of the cool music from the 70s and 80s. Because instead of hair metal, they have to do nair metal.
Except for the Freddie Mercury bones.
Yeah.
But it's also like they do. Hold on, real quick, Will, just to finish that. All right, sorry. I'm picking names. Whoever I feel like. Will, also you be quiet. Paul, go ahead. Well, no, but on the map they have so much of the Ideneth, they have all of their gates and stuff like that with within Shyish and stuff. So again, to me, that's almost like ripe for conflict. Like let's let these two kind of go off on each other, because I do feel like I don't think. I mean, sure, they got bones, whatever. Like the OBR is just obligate enemies of everybody, but I do think that would be an interesting story to have like raids from the Ideneth to try to snatch their toys.
There is a short story I haven't read that we will plug. That's kind of about that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But in my head,
I'm not plugging it.
Yeah, the opposite is also funny. Of Ossiarch's like, right, guys, we need bones and souls. There's these guys, they live right under the water. We don't have to breathe. Let's get them.
Yeah.
And they just kill a bunch of Namardi and like, all right, let's get those souls. And the Soul Reaper's like, boss, I ain't found nothing. They ain't got nothing down here. Bones for days, not a single soul amongst them.
I can't get out of my head. It's just a full Pirates of the Caribbean remake where to get under there, they've got the boat over their head. And then once they get there, they go, why are the souls gone?
Yeah. Where are the souls gone?
Right? All right, sorry, Paul. Get in
All
there.
right, after that wild diversion,
Elephant.
I do have an actual lore point to bring out here, which is, so the Mortis Reapers, which is a new unit, the new assassins, they have a thing called a necro cache, right?
Yeah.
And the necro cache are basically these containers that have grave sand in them.
Mm-hmm.
So
kind of like
when
Disney dollars.
Exactly. So when you
Grave
throw
cache.
them at somebody, so when you throw them at somebody, it rapidly ages the skin from the bones. Survivors, air quotes, of such a horrific attack are left as skeletons, right? And then later on, it goes to say, although use of assassination goes against Catacross, they might target a soul whose traits are of particular value to the Empire, an engineer with vital industrial knowledge, a chieftain with excellent strategic acumen, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
they basically cleanse the flesh from their bones, but
Yeah.
they keep their souls. So what the Mortis Reapers do is they make Tomb Kings in AOS, and then they pull them apart to turn them into other things. But like literally, it's like, come on.
Deconstructed. They deconstruct them.
They keep the soul with the body, but the body dies, and now it's an undead body with the soul of a living person that can live millennia, and then they destroy that soul too. It's pretty horrific.
I really like that idea, right? Like, if you're going to do OBR, it's not just like they're bone assassins and they sneak in and it's just a regular guy, but he's made of bones. But like, yeah, the way that they describe that, using the grave sand to completely, you know, and even to just go so far as to be like, it doesn't just like rip it all off. It just like, no, it ages them. It is a time magic essentially that forces them to accelerate so far beyond the regular pace that it all falls away and it's just bones left. That was such a cool idea for an assassination that is OBR themed. I absolutely love that part.
Well, and the other thing is, what I want to know is, this would be a cool story hook that I think they could really pick up on. Is Nagash going to go and find the pieces of grave sand? Because grave sand, by its nature, is actually a part of someone's life. So I could see this long shot ability where Nagash is trying to find the grave sand for, say, Archaon, right? And if he gets enough pieces of grave sand, he can kill Archaon, because that's the way it works in the Age of Sigmar. If you can get enough of someone's life, you can actually shorten their lifespan, right?
I love that idea, and in my head, I'm picturing the Ossiarch version of a voodoo doll.
Yeah.
Which is like, there's just a vessel that they carry around, and like, all right, we have enough. And like you slam the gem in the doll, and like, I'm alive, and then they just crush it.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it as when Helga Pataki and Hey Arnold has the shrine to Arnold made out of bubble gum and his old hair.
So the other thing I'm like is like, well, maybe Catacross could do this for Nagash. Right? There's all kinds of really cool little long-term goals that you could do for any of the gods, right? And if he's a strategic genius, right? That'd be awesome.
I love the idea that you have to collect individual grains of sand that are tied to individual people. I don't know if that's how it works, but in my head, he's just like sifting, and he goes, "Nope, not here." And you find one. The joy that you find,
it's like going through like a building full of shredded paper and trying to get one document back together. Like, oh, come on!
But it's again like time is not a resource that they care about, right? For every other faction, pretty much, time is a resource that matters because your soul is finite and your experience is finite. But for death in particular, it doesn't matter. So hypothetically, you could reconstruct all of your shredded paper and, you know, make your voodoo doll of sand and smush it, which is a really cool. Yeah, I really like that idea. That's a really fun.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, even if they just work as intended in the lore, as they're killing someone, they're also removing years from somebody else's life. whoever his
Yeah.
life was tied to that gravesand, right? And so it's just like, you know, somebody.
And if you're my mother, it's hers. You're taking years off me.
Stop slamming your head in the dryer. That's not what it's for. I know you got one hair. Stop it.
I was just imagining drying my hair in the dryer. I can't get past it. Just my head is out, but only my hair is in it. It's tumbling.
Uh,
All right, Will, are we on track still?
no.
Yeah, for the most part.
It's all my fault.
No, so, quick fire some listener questions about this section. We've got Darth Alec asks,
You got to sing
has
it.
there been any?
You got to sing it. Oh, no, it's a different one.
Has there been any fallout from the Lumineth War?
Oh, no, sorry. I was thinking a different Darth Alec question.
Yep. That'll come up later.
Okay.
So any fallout from the Lumineth War, which is, we kind of mentioned, it's where Catacross came up with the idea of chariots, of like, he has to change his tactics because of this. Is there fallout in the sense that there's grand political changes with the Ossiarch and the makeup of Shyish? No, because he will never admit that he was ever defeated in any way.
I'm not wrong, but I do need to try something new because I'm bored with the way that I win.
Yeah. Well, I'm winning too good.
Yeah, it's just dull.
I'm winning slower than I would like.
That's right, exactly. Well, and I don't know if this was new again, just because I haven't read the older ones, but with with the I can't remember the name of it now. With the statues, right? Like those got destroyed. Yes, thank you. They got destroyed and then they had to get rebuilt. I don't know if that was new, but like they were destroyed by Teclis. He just said, "Nah, dude, boom," and they, like, dude, like you jump on a kid's sandcastle, like, oh, dude,
come on,
you spent so long building that, and then they rebuilt it.
Yeah, it's kind of that. So then we can jump to lore intersects with the tabletop. This is where we list our favorite new models and units. I think we talked about these intensively, but if there's one that someone wants to talk about more, now is your time to jump on it.
I want to. From the last Battletome, we have 2 units that
I was going to say,
if you don't mind, I'm going to, as we like to call it in the biz, pull a Paul and take a little rant time. That's not even a rant, but no, I just wanted to go into the detail of the Tyrannic cohort, just because I think they like all of the Warcry units, like they have their own lore for those individual units. So it's kind of like you're getting a mini army to an extent, right? Like there's like 5 different things. You go, oh, cool. These all have their own pieces to it. So what was really cool about them for me was that oh my god, I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but the Bone Centaur, the leader,
the Centauri.
Yeah, no, that's not it. It's
no, something else.
But so they're like the most intelligent of the bunch, and like they're kind of leading this group because they're seeking redemption in the eyes of Nagash, right? And it is just like a flawed ideal, because every OBR is built and at the highest point that it will ever be at. Like you can only degrade in the eyes of the army and in the leaders. You can never go up, you can only go down. But they are just so adamant that like, no, we're gonna figure out a way to no longer be these, completely doomed and freaky little constructions. So that's the driving force behind all of what the Tyrannic cohort is doing. It's very I wrote in my notes ahead, it was very Senpai noticed me, but not in the way you noticed me last time energy.
Yeah.
But so I thought those were really cool. And then the way that they make the constructions within the warband are specific, as you'd kind of expect from the methodical nature of like a lot of the death factions. It's if you've done a certain thing wrong, they represent that in the warband with how you're treated. So the Banshees, the flying ones, they have their arms removed, so they can't use Naderite weapons anymore, and it's typically used as a punishment for somebody that like got away. So now you can fly faster and you can chase them down. I thought that was really neat. The Cyclopeans, more eye stuff with them was kind of fun. Their eyes can be, the leaders can like view through them to see what's going on, because they're like, we don't trust these guys. Let's check in on them and make sure everything's going okay. But also, like, that's the reason why they're also never going to be elevated, because they're so useful, right? These warbands are so good as scouts, and they're also like so useful as this visibility piece, that like there's this like, sure, like, okay, if you believe that you're going to get a promotion, go ahead, dude. It's literally never going to happen, but if that's how you feel, go ahead. So but the Cyclopeans are cool. They, what do I have here? Nope, nothing really that interesting on them, actually, other than they've given them stronger leg bones after the people that were supposed to submit bone tithes got away. Essentially, they just go, all right, you get stronger quads so that you can get them next time. And then anything else? I don't. But yeah, and the Centauri are like aware, right? Like they're the most sentient of the bunch, and so there's this kind of just like tragedy again, where they're trying to fight back, and like they understand, like they're the only ones of the group that like do understand that, like, no, we have been like demoted. The rest of them are, the souls have been kind of diluted in a way, but for those guys, they do know what's happening, and it's just like, we gotta get out of here, please, 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 please. And then no, it's not gonna happen. So yeah, it was just a cool little breakdown, getting all those different additional pieces from them, which I enjoyed.
So I had a quick like lore divergence off of that discussion, which I think was really cool. Is number 2, like, it would be a cool thing if we had some kind of upward mobility within the Ossiarchs. I know that the lore is everything goes down, but it would be cool to have somebody that kind of went up, failed.
That's
upwards,
what makes
right?
interesting characters, right? Like anybody who's a subversion of what the absolute rule is, that's always a compelling character for sure.
But something I hadn't thought about that your statements brought to light was, if everybody always goes downstream, that means that any new characters are actually pulled from people that they have defeated in recent history.
Yeah.
Which is actually a really interesting way to allow them to evolve.
Yeah.
If you're actually like, oh, this character came from Cities of Sigmar.
Yeah.
And they're doing this thing because this is what they did in life. And Catacross is now hooking into that. And we haven't seen that. But I think that's an actual really cool way of adding diversity and depth to their lore.
Paul, are you referencing Cities of Sigmar so I make another Bone Tithes and Harmony song reference? Or I don't have any. Don't worry.
I was just coming to the crossroads. And that's all I know, so.
Just sorry, I forgot. I was on a different page. I had a couple more notes that I thought were fun. They operate, the Tyrannic cohort operate in the Gnarlwood out of the Bone Mire, which is a storage of the bones from all the bodies of the people that failed trying to get into Talaxis and that the Gnarloaks have like eaten. So like they like harvest Gnarloaks, get the bones out, and then they're like, sweet, we chuck them in the mire. We'll use them later, just to keep replenishing. And yeah, I thought that was really fun. And yeah, they're just built for speed, as I kind of said before. That's the whole point, is that like they're trying to rip through there. So and they did have information that it was a direct kind of follow up to the Pyregeists, the other Warcry warband for Nighthaunt, where they'd been in there burning a bunch of stuff, and these guys are kind of following up behind them. So it was just a cool continuation of that story. I thought it was neat. But all right, enough of the Tyrannic cohort. But I like them; they're cool.
Yeah, I'd say something that kind of combines both of the points y'all are making is I want to talk about the Liege Martech for a second.
The new foot hero, right?
Yeah, new foot hero. And even though it doesn't like outright say that this is a form of upward mobility, it is a new hero slot that exists that didn't previously exist. There may have been Legion Martechs around, but it talks about how they're deployed in larger numbers now because the Empire's kind of stretched thin a bit. They need more commanders. And I was just thinking, like, okay, how do they determine Legion Martechs? Like, do they have to create a brand new slurry of souls to get a Legion Martech? Or are they taking, like, an existing Hecato Sergeant, like, leader of a Martech unit, and going, you know what? Let's just stuff a few more bits and, like, let's upgrade this soul gem into a Legion Martech and then going from there. And
that's so interesting because it calls into question, I guess hypothetically it can't happen, right? Because a single soul can't have upward momentum. However, if you are not a single entity, if you are not the sole piece of it, if you went from being one of one soul in a body and now you're one of 1/16th of a higher up body, is that a promotion? Right? Like, are you actually moving upwards, or were you demoted to being able to move the pinky of the left hand and that's it? Right? Like, that's an interesting, like, philosophical OBR question that I'm sure they discuss all the time.
Yeah,
that's actually a fun character too. Like, I was actually promoted, and just like, no, dude, you only control ankle from now on. That's not better.
I used to just be the middle cuneiform bone of the foot, which is, of course, Kieran's favorite.
Shout out, Kieran. This is just a bone fact if you're interested, but in my intro, I mentioned calcaneal, which is in reference to the calcaneus, which is your heel bone, also in the foot. The hardest bone in the body, very hard to break, very big, very beefy. Yeah, how about that? Just bone facts for you. Take that. You learned something today, even if you had to listen to us.
Yeah, and I like the idea. Okay, combat foot hero. It's the most. Generally, if this is all your army gets, it's nothing. But I do like the idea that they needed to create another rank of commander because of the way they're spreading. And something that ties with the Tyrannic cohort and then with the Legion Martech, and then I think also justifies Chariots just a little bit, is when this army first came out, there's a lot of design cues. People pointed a little bit to a little bit of like Eastern design cues, especially with like the samurai looking guy on Catacross's base. But with this release, they're also really leaning into the like Greco-Roman designs. One of the Legion Martech heads is basically just a Spartan helmet, but Ossiarch. The Tyrannic cohort, I mean, it's harpies, it's centaur, it's cyclopses. Like, it really leads into that Greek mythos. And I think we're starting to see
capes are kind of Greek, right? Like, traditionally, like, I think it's a visual motif that you associate with, or maybe not necessarily brings you right there, but oftentimes when they're portrayed modern day, especially, even if they've got pants on and they make people upset, usually there's a cloak in there, some variety as well.
Yeah. Also, it's just kind of a cool looking model. Like, it didn't need to go as hard as it does for just being a foot combat hero.
They also kind of needed a combat hero on foot, because most of their they have a ton of really cool heroes, but none of them are just like, dude, let's fight. They're like, we got jobs to do. We can't just be fighting people all the time. I'm a man riding a set of pants. I don't have time to get into your petty squabbles. I built these pants so I don't have to fight.
Any other units before we move on to notable characters?
Yeah, my favorite was the Triaxes, but we've already really covered them so well. So,
but we haven't covered the little cool walking flame thing.
Yeah,
which I think is really fun.
Tell me about
any thoughts on that, Joe?
Oh, the Balefire, the Balefire.
Yep, we're getting. It's almost. I can't. That's where I'm at too. Balefire. Brazier. That's it.
Yeah, the
Brazier, whatever.
Cauldron. I think they're Triax cauldrons.
It's a really kind of a neat piece, right? And the lore behind it is that when they're shooting their arrows, they dip their arrows into the brazier before they fire them off, and it creates flame. I think what I liked about it, about that specific piece, was that they how the game mechanic worked, how they tied the game mechanic to that specific piece, that it affects the control score, right? So it affects the control score of whatever they're hitting. I liked how they handled that piece. It wasn't set everything aflame like the Zeech has the burning keyword. It wasn't that at all. It
used to. I don't think it has it anymore, right? I think, wasn't that a change? They got rid of that part.
Yeah, they changed it this book.
Yeah. But I did like that that's how they chose to address it in game, is that it actually it was an effect on a unit, as far as their ability to be able to stay where they were.
Also, the there is the dissonance between the rules and the lore. Because in the lore, it's they dip their arrows in the fire and they shoot it at people.
Right.
But in the game, the token goes
Goes
onto
over
the
by,
enemy
yes,
unit.
goes over by the
So
unit.
it's
Yeah.
literally just,
As I've never played and probably won't play a game of proper AOS, I didn't want to be the one to call out that I didn't like the rule, but since you've said it, I did write that down that I wasn't super impressed with that idea.
But I do love the idea of like, okay, cool. They have they have a fire guy to shoot arrows.
Right.
Cool. That thing walks, which means it's got a soul gem. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is someone who was born in this body that has no mouth, must scream.
What was the Elden Ring pot guy?
Yeah. It's like, what is my purpose? You light things on fire. Oh my god.
I don't want to get too far into it because we've kind of mentioned beating around tertiarily to it, but the new guys in that Underworld's Warband, I'm very excited to see. Again, just like I love, like that's the kind of dumb stuff that I want to see. Just a dude with two heads in a box. I don't know what the heads are for yet. We don't have all that lore, but just like make it whatever you for Ossiarch, like the people are also tools in war, right? Like you don't need to look normal or be cool or anything other than be effective in your role. And so I thought that was a really interesting. I was disappointed just because I was like, two of them are so similar, and like I mean, like that whole warband, there's only 5 models, and two of them are the new Reaper dudes. There's the leader, and then there's 2 of the box guys. And I was just like, one box guy would have been somehow better, just because it makes it more special. It feels more unique in that sense. But I'm still here. I'm a box stan. I'm here for him.
Yeah.
Get those bones, boys.
All right, real quick, jump over to notable characters. Anyone have any character they want to talk about that we haven't talked about already? Or we have talked about it. If there's a listener question for that character you'd like to answer.
There was just one turn of phrase in Nagash's narrative that I liked, and it was the garbed in magnificent bone finery. I just liked that turn of phrase when they were describing it.
Joe's got a Halloween costume in mind.
Mm-hmm, right?
Searching Spirit Halloween. Bone finery.
I thought he was just going to dress up in all the bits of all the kits that are on his wall that he haven't assembled yet.
Yeah,
and then that's his costume.
Not for this year.
Yeah. Isn't there that band, though? The Bone Clothes and Finery? Speaking of Nagash, there is just a listener question from Darth Alec. Mm-hmm. What do the Bone Reapers feel about Nagash's defeat and subsequent unpaid vacation? Honestly, it doesn't really come up because in the Nagash portions, you never can keep him down for long. But I would wager Catacross.
And again, what is time either, right? Like a defeat is temporary at best.
I also think he's fine with his boss being away for a while. Right. And the only person who would miss Nagash is Arcan, who's also missing. So Catacross has kind of got the free reign of everything. He gets to do what he wants. He gets to hire some archers and some assassins.
He doesn't get to do exactly as he wants. He did get voluntold to make chariots.
Yeah.
I got a voicemail. But he's not even here. Right. He's not going to be here. But I got a voicemail.
You're on vacation. Leave me alone.
It is. So his reaction, I thought, was very similar to the Soulblight's reaction to when Nagash is gone. This is great. Right?
Cool.
We're able to. We don't have the oversight anymore. We can do what we wish.
Boss is gone. I'm in charge.
Right, exactly.
Second in command, also gone.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. For Catacross, last listener question for him was from Darth Alec, which is, Catacross has been dunked on several times now. How is the Undefeated dealing with that? Quick answer is no, he hasn't.
Maybe from the camera angle you had, it was a dunking, but for us, it was a layup. So we're not too worried about it.
Yeah. Who dunked on him? Who's to say?
Yeah, he's not getting Wembied out here.
Yeah, unlike Nagash and Arcan, Catacross is still walking around, so he couldn't have won that. Arcan the Black, Darth Alex says, "What's up with Arcan? F's in chat, or is Blackstreet back?"
No,
All
that was
right,
when you got to sing with Black Street back.
He's
He's not
All
really.
He's still reforming. It does say that we do see aspects of Arcan and Nagash, and it happens enough that they have a phrase for it, the phenomena mortis. So, he doesn't have his physical body, but he's still out there messing with people, and it's justification for why he's on the battlefield and why they didn't retire his model yet.
Yeah, that is one of the other things about this Battletome is for all the lore that is very specific to Ossiarch Bonereapers, there's a lot of stuff that didn't get really a ton of coverage that you would expect to have coverage, like what's going on with Nagash, like what's going on with Archon, right? And it's, I don't know, it leaves me a little bit
Are you summarizing? Don't you dare summarize right now.
We're
not ready to summarize yet. I'm on your team, Will. We're staying to a strict, rigid structure
I'm not giving any points or anything. I'm just saying that is a point brought up by the questions, is that I would expect a little bit more about Nagash. I would expect a little bit more about Arcan, and we just didn't get it in this book.
My thought, opinion, theory is this is the second Battletome in a row where they kind of hand wave it, which makes me believe it has to be some sort of bigger narrative, either the start of or end of.
Counterpoint, Will, because they completely. Well, I guess never mind. It's not a counterpoint; it's a supportive point. But I'm thinking of Festus. Yeah. Festus in the last one. I'm sorry, I meant to myself. Counterpoint to me. Nice try, but Festus going away and then coming back. No, I think that is a counterpoint, right? Because they removed him.
No, that is a counterpoint because it wasn't an end of edition or beginning of edition.
They just said, "Here's the guy." Like, whoa, there he is again. But
hey, cool. What did he do?
They're definitely like dragging him through, right? Like, hey, he's not gone. Whoa, did you say he's gone? He's not gone. How dare you? How dare you? But also,
he was right over there.
Yeah, give him a sec. Yeah, he's taking a little breather, but
unbreather.
Stop.
Because he's dead.
Stop it.
And then, actually, we're about to do the summary, but there was one last listener question I wanted to ask you all, because I think it's one that really touches into the core of all of our beings. Patron of the show, Chrisling, asks, what's the funniest punishment construct Nobi, our character, can be made into?
I don't think I'm allowed to say my idea on this podcast.
Keep it family friendly. Family friendly.
Chrisling, DM me on Discord, and I'll let you know. You know what? I might even make a picture for it. No, I won't.
No. I mean, we've got the obvious Crash Goblin, right? Like that's the obvious answer.
One of the biggest.
Yes, funniest one, not coolest job.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, honestly, the Triax Flame Brazier that has a soul gem is a pretty good thing. Like, you have to imagine those birds that the Spy Master sends out have a soul gem on them somewhere as well, right?
Are they called grave grackles, or is that just something I saw online?
I think they're not called grave grackles.
It's a great name though.
Yeah, it is a great name. Yeah.
It's a pretty good name. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it in. Yeah. Will, don't cut this. Please.
No, it's yours now.
Oh, yes, my idea. Brilliance.
Yeah, it just says avian bone constructs, similar to those used by the Spy Master.
Making me think about it. Perhaps an exoskeleton of an insect would be pretty, because there's no control over it without the muscles and the hydraulic muscles that'd be kind of interesting. Just trying to think of the most useless thing that you could possibly be.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to say it, but not as an insult to the thing, even though we've been harping on it. Being made into the chariot itself.
Yeah.
Which the chariot, let's be clear, doesn't do anything on its own. It is being pulled by two separate horse constructs, which are themselves other commanders who had failed in some way and were turned into horses.
Also, now you've got metal bolted onto you. Insult to injury.
You can't turn your own wheels. You simply exist to have existed. And so I like to think that the commanders who guys, I failed. I messed up. Nagash demoted me. I'm a horse now. And he looks, he's being attached to another chariot that he can feel is alive and goes, well, it could be worse. there are worse places to be, I guess.
I'm just remembering too, there's a tiny little bone in your wrist that's just like this ball and it does nothing. That'd be fun. That's a silly one. I can't find it. I'm only getting ganglion cysts when I look it up. Also funny, not OBR related. They'll send it back to the Nurgle episode. Will, can we edit that back in?
Go back and re-edit that 3-hour episode just to add in that joke, because it's totally worth it.
I guess an embarrassing job is if you're the person who has to attach Catacros's bone bulge onto his hip joint every time a new construct is made. It's probably not the best job out there.
I was thinking the lower half of the soul mason.
Oh yeah, that too.
Just the two legs.
The wrong trousers. You get to be Wallace and Gromit's wrong trousers. I actually think that's aspirational. That's what I'm hoping for. I want to be Gromit. It's the wrong trousers.
Oi, Gromit! Love me a bit of Wensleydale bone.
That's what I'm imagining the crotch goblin saying that too.
Oi, get off!
All right. So Black Library examples. Not a whole lot that feature the Ossiarchs themselves. Novel-wise, we've got the Vulture Lord by Richard Strahan.
Awesome novel.
Was that? I don't know that one. Is it Mortar related?
It's all OBR, and essentially the gist of it is that a human mortal gets drafted into the OBR without dying and takes on the trap. It's one of my favorite AOS stories because it's one of those stories that can only really take place in AOS, and it perverts the narrative. The civilization that he comes from is super cool and intriguing. I thoroughly, highly enjoyed that story. And then the next one that you're going to mention, the Ossiarch book, is the little novella is also really cool.
Bonereapers by David Geimer.
Correct. It was a little tiny one that was released, and also really good. The Bonereapers, for all that, like I was sitting here and going on in the lore, et cetera, there is so much that can be delved and told in these stories for this faction, because it is such a cool idea that is done really, really well, and there is so much depth to it. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the novella really also highlights the effect the Bonereapers have on the rest of the setting.
Yeah,
which I think is super crucial. They don't exist in a vacuum. It talks about what is a city like that has dealt with the Bonereapers, that has been paying the tithes. What does that actually look like? And I think
it's also covered by the musings and the beautiful poetry of Bone Tithes and Harmony. But
like if you have a cool faction, but the world doesn't react to them, they're not that cool. Yeah. So seeing the world react to the Bonereapers, I think, is phenomenal. Another novel I'm going to call out, Children of Teclis by Evan Dickin. Evan, friend / guest of the show. I love this book. It really, Children of Teclis, it kind of highlights it's about Lumineth and Ideneth and their weird sibling relationship. But we also see a bit about the Ossiarch, how they operate, and specifically we see the personality of how does an Ossiarch Mortisan in captivity work. And he's like kind of like luring people in, like, hey, let me out and help do this ritual. I'll tell you dark secrets and death powers. Like, he's a little conniving. Like, he's not just an automaton, he's a character, which is something that you don't appreciate enough, I think, as they go on.
Do we have a novella or a short story for the Lady of Linder's actual freeing of Catacross from the Midnight Tomb? Do we have that in novel or short story form?
Not that I'm aware. If it is, so I just kind of searched Ossiarch Black Library books. If there is something like that, it probably would actually filter under Night Haunt because it'd be like a Night Haunt story that he just shows up in.
Yeah.
And if there is, I haven't read it.
And that was it the end of first edition or second edition?
Middle of second is when.
So maybe was there any? Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any like books and stuff like that that came around then, or like
I know there was a novel about like Lydia Linder that came out around then. I just don't know if the Siege of Lethis.
Or like the story, kind of like the Dawnbringers books and stuff like that. Was there anything like that was coming out then, or
nothing I'm aware of? It was all like short stories, kind of like leading up to it, but very few dealt with the aftermath and the rise of the Bone Reapers.
There were no tie-in novels for that series that I remember correctly.
Okay.
So.
And then the series of short stories. I really like Tithe Marked by Stephen Scheel because it's the idea of like it's part of the horror short stories that they did for a little while that I really enjoyed. And it's this guy who's an amputee, and he's like, "Well, I do need another arm, and there's this free arm that was torn off a Bone Reaper over there. What's the worst that could happen if I just..." And then, of course, the worst that could happen.
Oh, really? Ah, jeez.
Shucks.
Neuralink, sure. Sign me up.
Yeah. What's the worst that could... And then there's a lot more short stories, but one I would just call out for you specifically, Mike, I think you should read is called Krakenbane's Curse. It is a joint raiding party of Scourge Privateers and Ideneth Deepkin. They're raiding a settlement, and then what's that on the waves? Oh god, is that the Bone Reapers music?
By God, that's the Ossiarch Bonereapers music.
Yeah, so it's Bone Reaper naval battle with the Scourge Privateers and Ideneth.
Is it, what would their opening music? It would be bad to the bone, right?
Yeah,
it'd have to be. I did, when I read it, I did think it was going to be what's his face, the Nurgle guy as well, incorporated into it. What's his name?
Oh, Gutrot.
Yeah. I thought maybe Gutrot because he's got the rock kraken that's going on. I was like, that'd be pretty cool. That three-way battle. Like, is that Gutrot's boom?
From beneath the wave.
Don't let this distract you from the fact that Lady Olander threw the Celestin Prime off of. And just one more I wanted to add is, again, just if you want just like a splattering of it. It's not, I don't even think it counts as a short story. It's just, do you want them to feature in something? I forget which book it was, but the Dawnbringer book. It was the one with Usharan's book, right before they go there. The cities.
I just want to keep on saying Return of the King.
Yeah, it is Return of the King.
Mad King
it's
Rises.
J.R.R. Tolkien. I think Mad King Rises. That's when they have then they run into those guys. Again, just show up for a second. It's in there. If you want Bone Reapers written in print on a page, that's the one.
They are there. All right, we'll do final summaries, reviews, and highlights. Starting top of our list with Paul.
Well, I had a hard time with the lore in this book, which is frustrating because I really love the lore for this faction. And the models don't fit what my idea of the lore is quite as much. So that's a bit distracting to me. It was a well-written book. It was an enjoyable read. All the models look gorgeous, but for me, it's got to be somewhere between 4 and 5 out of 8 legs. Because I was hoping for something more fantastical and more Mortal Realmsy, and we didn't get it. So that makes me sad.
Joe?
I'm going to go the opposite direction of Paul here. So for me, the OBR has always been my second favorite faction, and I think it's because of the, as Will alluded to earlier, it's the Greco-Roman flavor to them. But I always felt that the one thing that was missing was the archers and the chariots. So from a lore standpoint, I thought they did fine on how they tied the chariots and archers into this story, and Catacros's basically his ability to be able to understand what the flaws were in his strategy and to address those. And then adding those to this army actually made made it much fuller to me, and really fit. I love the Total War game, and how the Total War Rome game, and how the units work in there. And OBR, by putting the chariots and the archers into there, really kind of fleshed that out and filled that out for me. And I've always loved the aesthetic as well. So for me, I'm going to go with 208 out of 212 bones.
Nice.
I like the granularity in that.
Yeah. Mike.
I was also I was fine with this book. It wasn't nothing in it really like blew me away. And honestly, like the newer models, I was just fine with for the most part. Like again, I'm excited to see other people do some like paint jobs on them, and maybe then I'll get more excited. It did make me want to go back to my old OBR stuff. Like I said, it made me build Cannons Reapers. I was like, oh man, I got to build some Stalkers, make a Warcry Warband out of it. So like it inspired me, but not necessarily because of the new stuff that was in there. More just because I think I was surrounding myself with a lot of OBR stuff. I liked the Cato bit. I do just like those lore dumps from that perspective. I think that's always a really cool thing to add in there. Some of the stories were really neat, just those quick little blurbs, especially. I really, really enjoyed the Hellsmiths of Hashut one. That was just cool to see them show up, and just especially versus the Crematorians, who are one of the more compelling, factions within OBR for me. But yeah, overall, I never felt like I did go back and read all of the Tyrannic cohort relevant pieces from the Warcry book as well, just tertiarily with this one. I wanted to catch that in there too. So again, it was inspirational, but not necessarily because of what it was doing, but almost not even in spite of itself, but like I was excited to read about OBR, and even the old stuff for me was interesting, but I also recognize that it's not necessarily something that this specific book did. So yeah, it was a fine experience. And Joe had a similar idea to me, but I'm going to give it 14 out of 24 ribs, which also happens to be the number that are true ribs and connected ribs versus false and floating ribs.
That is pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know. Like I harped against the chariots a little bit, but for me, that's more about the visual design they used for the chariots. Like the lore itself, I understand being strategic. They at least threw in the fact that he didn't like it. So I'm like, oh, lampshade. It's a lampshade, but they at least still address it a little bit. For me, I wish they kind of pushed it just a little bit more. And one thing I'm really, especially just thinking about now, and especially with the listener questions, is like my first read through, I really loved the things that did get pushed forward. Things like the crematorians, things like those sub commanders, a little bit more about the necromystic. We hear more about the Petrifex elite and stuff like that.
Archers got pushed forward big
Archers,
time.
Yeah. Well, they pull back.
No, don't do. It's too late. It's too late to say those kind of things.
But the things that I was most interested in, news about Archaon and Shyish, what's going on there, how they're reacting, what they're doing with the Lumineth, and if there's any movement there. I didn't get it as much as I would have wanted, personally. I kind of wanted a bit more about like, okay, cool, they have all these new units. Are they using them to fight Archaon at all, or are they just kind of letting them roam free? The chariots, they do say, is a direct reaction to the Lumineth, but I wanted to see a little bit more about how that's going. They do focus on the Lumineth, at least with the Ossiarch Lords section. So I think that may address it, but I just think like they have two massive foes that were part of massive narrative things, and that's what we almost hear the least about is the progression in those battlefields.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Will. As a quick thing, the narrative thrust, I didn't feel a real strong narrative thrust in this.
Yep. It felt like it was like, hey, here's the new units. We're going to justify it. We're going to put a couple of blurbs in here that are relevant to what's happening big picture. But yeah, especially compared to like, right, we were all in the last episode where we were talking about Nurgle, where there's so much added to it, right? There's so many new concepts and ideas. And it's not even necessarily that those are pushing a story forwards, but they're creating a story that didn't exist. It did feel lacking on like new ideas, maybe. Just as a general principle, like there wasn't a whole lot that felt like revolutionary in the way that the Nurgle one kind of did.
Well, and I will say this to defend this book, oddly enough, is for the Nurgle one, it just like presented those new Nurgle units as units that have sort of always been there. We just never seen. This does have a reason for why we're getting the new models. So I will give it credit for that, because I know I took credit away from the Nurgle book because of that. I just wish that we saw something happen with some of the major threads, and maybe it's because they're saving it for a big story at the end of the edition.
Real quick, sorry, this is a throwback. I had it in my notes and I forgot to mention earlier, but they do allude to with the radicalism and stuff like that. They did make a note. They were like ... They hit an ellipses on us, which I was like, hang on a second, but they did say maybe they're preparing for a future assault or consolidating forces. And so, they're very possible, right? If we pretend to understand what GW is doing and follow the through lines, technically the next edition should be based on one data point out of 3 data points or 4 data points should be death. So maybe OBR is going to be, the new release faction. They get some interesting stuff for the next one, but yeah, kind of a fascinating, and again, maybe they are alluding to future presence of OBR.
6.5 out of 8 casts.
Which 2 did you leave out? Which logos got dumped?
I won't say. You have to figure
it out.
No,
pick your favorites. Come on.
I'm leaving out the Constructor and the Pre-Ed. I'm keeping the foot guys.
I knew it was going to be Pre-Ed just because it's the one I remembered. I'm like, I bet you're going to remember it too.
The foot guys and the freaks make it through Underworlds and Warcry. We're taking over.
We're doing it. With that, it's time for our reshaping, but Nagash willing, we'll be back soon. Like, subscribe, share, or leave a review. Join us on Discord. Drop a tithe on our Patreon. Anything you can do will spread the word of Nagash further than we can on our own. Chat with us anytime about your thoughts on social media. Paul, where can they find you?
At PJ Shard.
Joe.
On the Discord at themortalrealms.com/Discord as Celtic Joe.
Mike.
Armoire Enthusiast 7, mostly on the Discord, also standing on your street corner making riffs of songs you've heard with really obscure references.
And then you can find me, Will, as Sever on Blue Sky and the Discord. And you can find all our Mortal Realms shows and content at www.themortalrealms.com.